6 a.m. up and at 'em, kids, on a Thursday morning. We are creeping ever so closer to Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, to the end of all the fabulous desserts that come along with Christmas. I may have gotten into more of those. You get into the Ferrero Rocher, for lack of a better term, I'm going to call them the balls, but they've got. I didn't realize they had all kind. They had like coconut, and they have the ones that everybody's familiar with. Is the chocolate with, I believe, hazelnut. Are you a Ferrero Rocher? I didn't realize how big this Ferrero Rocher passion is.
I feel like this is something that has maybe the internet has sparked again, something that's rekindled this flame because these weren't around forever. But I did have a coconut one actually last night.
Oh,
Very solid.
yeah. Look at
Very
us.
solid.
We're like twins, both of us. I had a coconut one actually.
He's just doing research for the show prep. That's what it was.
Hey, look at you. You knew where I was going to open the program with. We are live from the Hilton Garden Inn here on Gervais Street, hanging out this morning for Experience Columbia. We'll tell you a little bit about that. A tourism and marketing organization for the region, which includes the Richland County, Lexington County, and the City of Columbia. And their mission is to drive out of area visitation to the Columbia area in the form of meetings, conventions, and leisure travel. Leisure travel such as football games, or in this case, this morning we'll be talking with Lamont Paris coming up around 8:30. Going to get his take on Draymond Green. How would he handle a Draymond Green? But we'll catch up with Lamont Paris. I'm going to go with a no. I'm going to go with a no. I've seen the pictures of Lamont in that baggy jersey that barely covered him up, but we'll catch up with him about 8:30 this morning. A lot to get into. Big day for South Carolina football yesterday. Preston Thorne. Football commitments. We're back. Is that where we should start? Should we do a vibe check this morning? Just do the simple one. 1, 2, 4, 5. Where do you stand? 803-404-6100 is how you can get in this morning if you want to do so. We will do a vibe check to get going right off the bat. 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2, 4, or 5. Where do you stand with South Carolina football after the Rocket lands yesterday? Rocket Sanders finally makes it public. He commits to the University of South Carolina. Okay, good for that. South Carolina picks up another defensive tackle, another big body, Preston, in DeAndre Jules, a guy that has played 5 years of college football at Pittsburgh, is a bigger fella, is going to come in, and I'm interested, going to get your opinion on that. If indeed, because this is, we don't know, if indeed South is going to make the legitimate switch to the 3-3-5. And I don't know, I don't know enough. What am I going for? X's and O's to look at you or look at anybody and say, well, when you land two guys like this, that's likely what you're going to do, or if that's just adding girth in the middle.
We can get football sportsy.
Love it.
We can do it. I feel like there's a segment dedicated to that later in the show.
We'll get you more information on that, but we will get going this morning. The 2024 schedule release last night. Information had creeped out a little here or there. It was I don't think we'd seen anywhere where it was confirmed, such as like I had seen people kind of insinuate that Kentucky was going to be the second game on the road, that LSU was likely going to be the third game of the season in September at home, that Alabama was likely going to be October 12th. Obviously, we knew where Clemson was going to be. Those are the ones that I had kind of seen leaked out here and there. I don't know if I'm in the minority on this or what, but I overall think that South Carolina, as far as when you get 2 bye weeks, you want to look and see where those are at. I think South Carolina probably got about as good a draw as you probably could have asked given the schedule.
Everybody was talking about how difficult the schedule was just based on who we were playing. But then the added level of difficulty is when you play everybody. And so looking at that, Bill, I know you had a conundrum with the schedule a little bit because you were planning in some away visits and it kind of smashed those back to back.
Yeah.
So I know that was difficult for you. I know they didn't take Bill Gunner into consideration when they were making the schedule. But how you feel about that?
Well, I was planning what Preston's talking about. I was planning to go to one of two. Next year will be the kids, more importantly Austin, but I'm going to tie in my daughter next year will be a freshman at Gilbert high school. I assume she's going to go to Gilbert. I don't know. This day,
Well,
in this day and age,
listen here. Coach Leapart's gone. Who knows what's big things happening over in Gilbert? Could be affecting enrollment. If she hit the portal, we don't know what's happening.
so as you can see, if you look at my computer, you can see last night, and this was actually pretty funny because I feel like as we were here at the Hilton Garden Inn, I did not look because obviously I personally living in Lexington do not need a hotel for home games. But like last night, if people from say LSU were watching the football, the 2024 schedule release, or if you live in Charleston or Myrtle Beach or Florence, if you live somewhere outside of Columbia and you're thinking, I need to book a hotel for the LSU weekend. I'm going to go ahead and get a hotel. Let me look at the Hilton Garden Inn. I didn't think last night to look and see if their rates are up for that particular September weekend. I was looking at Tuscaloosa. Rates weren't up. It was a call and find out, and I've fallen for that little trap before. Yeah, but I'm okay with it. We'll get into that a lot this morning in terms of how the schedule played out. But now you know. Now you know. And if you are thinking ahead, if you were like me last night, and you're thinking ahead, and you're again in our Myrtle Beach market 100.3 the game, or you're in Florence, or again you're somewhere else listening on our app this morning, you're thinking, got to book a hotel room. I want to go watch LSU play South Carolina. I'm going to go watch Mississippi take on South Carolina on October 5th, but I need to get a hotel room. This is the perfect way to do it. You can go on the Hilton Garden Inn site and you can look up and you now know what weekend you've got to book for. And we'll get into that. We'll get into a lot of that this morning as well. South Carolina, again, pretty good day there for them overall. Preston Thorn, as we get the schedule release. Again, a transfer portal. We'll do a transfer portal Thursday update. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on yesterday. And if we have time this morning, I want to get into Utah yesterday. Did you see Utah? Utah gets NIL. They have grasped the concept of NIL in what I would say is a legal. All of it's technically legal. Let's be, I guess, clear about that. What's happening is technically illegal, but Preston Thorn, Utah, I think, has grasped NIL better than any school out there, or maybe that's just me. Because if you were to give basically your entire not everybody just yet, but basically your entire athletic, your entire student athlete body trucks, it seems to actually in the ones yesterday, if they had options on what they get to drive.
Oh, nice.
I think Utah. I'm a little surprised that we haven't seen more schools follow Utah's lead. I'll explain all that in the morning. We'll also get into it as we were talking transfer portal. I meant to bring this up yesterday. Pro Football Focus _college has a tweet out there that I brought to Preston's attention post show yesterday. It's an interesting tweet about the number of snaps played by freshmen across the country this year. Two schools led the way, and they're both in the same state, and they both played each other at the very end of the season. And I'll tell you who that was. You can kind of gather. Wow, if I'm talking about it on the home of the Gamecocks, you can kind of figure they might be in one of those top two spots. So we'll get it all figured out this morning. A lot to do, a lot to get into. Schedule release, transfer portals. Lamont Paris set to join us again. We are at the Hilton Garden Inn, Experience Columbia. We'll tell you more about that as we go along the morning. How would you describe the chairs that we are in?
Throne-ish, comfy, eloquent. These are not our studio chairs. These are definitely.
They're not.
We're in a different environment for sure.
It is.
There's ambient lighting, artwork. It's a lot happening right now.
If you hear us snoring at some point, we apologize. We know that does not make for great radio.
Throw pillows,
but know that we are in very, very comfy chairs this morning. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Gamecock Larry wants to weigh in this morning. Gamecock Larry, how you doing?
What's that? Well, you did it right after Stephanie, right? Which, here's the deal. This is Bryce Snell. I guess I'm glad that she's comfortable talking in that group. That's just not the way to talk about her. Her son, right? Again, maybe she doesn't. She's based upon his third part. Oh, Robbie, I was like, start with murder, just get up and cry about beat up her Lord. I said, she's never. That was funny. Local checkout. Chick-fil-A would Chick-fil-A out. I'm not gonna order Chick-fil-A.
That was a man
There we go.
that about a week and a half ago was in a bad spot, and this morning
Much maybe like Shane Beamer and crew,
he
right?
is.
The vibe check was a little bit low after we had some folks leaving in the portal, but we got some good news and Larry's back. 1-800-Larry.
Larry, well, yeah. Todd says gotta love Gamecock Larry, but Carolina will go 11-1 because they have to travel to Tuscaloosa on October 12th. Roll Tide. I'm gonna tell Todd he owes me. He's gonna have to hook me up down there at the Capstone. As I planned, as I was saying, my daughter will be a freshman. I think I'm gonna make it our first family road trip so that she can see and experience another campus. I think that's part of it. We'll get into a lot of that. We'll get into it. We're gonna do it. Vibe check. Vibe check here today because Rod from Greenville says, "Show me on the field." I get it. I'm with Rod. I'm with Rod on this, but I'll say it. Where do you stand now after Preston's a 5? All right, Preston's a 5. Preston's a 5. But where do you stand? 1, 2, 4, or 5? Where do you stand now on South Carolina? Have you come back? I'll admit I'm not. I'm a 2. I'm a wet blanket. I'm a 2. I'm still having a hard time. It's a long way to football season.
No, we got a single digit defensive line. He wears a single digit.
That's
gotta count for
we'll let Preston get into that. A single digit defensive lineman. That'll be one direction. The co-pilot weighs in. The O-line will be the biggest complaint you will hear all winter, spring, and summer, but he's at a 5. He's at a 5. Rich says everybody gets 2 bye weeks. Have you seen Bama's schedule? It's a joke. They take care of Bama as usual. We'll let you weigh into some of this. Again, the jokes get, if you think someone's schedule is a joke, the reason you think that is because they're really good.
That's true. That's true. No, yeah. We haven't had the fortune to say, South Carolina has such a soft schedule.
I mean, yeah, I'll get it. We'll take a look around. 803-404-6100. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird back in the studio. We'll get out to your to your Firehouse Subs text lines this morning. Again, if you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. Live from the Hilton Garden Inn. It's Bill Gunner and Preston Thorne, and it's the early game.
Man, good to see you again, Preston. Good to see you, brother.
What live read? Which one? Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. It's been chilly this week, and as someone pointed out on our live stream, it must be quite comfy here at the Hilton Garden Inn because I don't have a winter hat on. I don't have a hoodie on. I am looking very comfortable. Their heating and air unit's working just like mine is back at the house. And the reason that is because back in February, I had AAA Heating and Air come out to my house and they put in a brand new unit. You know what? Right now during the winter, they want to make sure our senior citizens are nice and warm as well. If you're 62 years of age or older, you need to call AAA Heating and Air 803-677-1500, and you can get a complimentary heating unit checkup. That's right, complimentary. So call AAA Heating and Air. Tell them you heard it right here on 107.5 The Game with Bill Gunner. Get AAA Heating and Air out to your house, and make sure when you need to click on the heat this coming winter, it works properly. So again, 803-677-1500. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them you heard it here on 107.5 The Game with Bill Gunner. Thank you, because I don't have a clock here, so we will need you to count us down when we're doing that. All right? Okay, sounds good. Yep, we're good. And if you want to text us, yeah, just Farrow Road at Hardscrabble. Okay. Okay, I don't know if you saw that. He's got you at 655 with absolute flies. Yeah, 655. And then I got some pretty good time. Y'all doing all right this morning?
Look at you on the fly.
Well, I was saying,
No, but me and Terry Forbes talked about that. He's got a gift, like he knows exactly timing. You did. I noticed that the other day. He's like, "You need 30 for old timing." Got in there and done. Well, he knows exactly.
Jim, I don't know. It's kind of there, like, all right, this might work, this might not. Jim at least knows what more.
Well, and he also does work for seven. So
It's talking to you. Another knows that about later on.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, stuff happens. Like, so,
yep. No, they don't know.
I was thinking perfect. Yeah, 'cause I'll be honest, I ate early last night and went to bed at like 8 right at that schedule. I was in bed.
How long do y'all have till y'all get back on?
Probably about 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3
Okay.
minutes. Why? What you trying to do?
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out how we're gonna scoot it a little closer.
So when Kelly from Experience Columbia here.
Unless maybe we just put the Comrex in this little table. The headphones should be able to stretch.
Yeah.
So everybody chairs
We can
stay
do the
in
next
place.
break if you need to. Like I said,
But we don't have to move the Comrex right now. It's pretty good.
She could hear.
Do it around like 6:40.
Experience Columbia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got so good. You never know. So walking through the line, get all fired up over the schedule, release and starts cussing. Yeah, I mean, I'll keep them up right now. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. What time is the traffic? Like 6:21. Hey, yeah, count me down on the very end of that, just on that. All right, day 3 of Bill Gunner doing traffic. So far, I think I've done pretty good, much like y'all are doing a good job of staying safe out there this morning. Just one incident to report at the moment. Farrow Road at Hardscrabble Road. Now, this morning, we're aiming to keep these things to a minimum. If someone pointed out, it's the last full day of school today across the Midlands. So drive safely. Just one incident to report right now. Farrow Road at Hardscrabble Road. Right now, just 41 degrees here, but it feels nice and warm inside the Hilton Garden Inn. The high today set for 55, so you get another nice afternoon to enjoy as we creep closer to Christmas. Again, just one incident to report. Farrow Road to Hardscrabble Road, and right now 41 degrees. You're listening to the early game. 6:21 on a, I don't know, chilly. No, it didn't feel quite as chilly as it has the last few days when I've walked out of the house, but a chilly Thursday mornings. We get up, get ready, and we will look back at that schedule release. I did not realize the excitement Preston has for a defensive lineman commitment that wears a single digit number. We'll get into that. Right now, though, we are at the Hilton Garden Inn here on Gervais Street with Experience Columbia SC, a tourism marketing organization that includes Richland County, Lexington County, and the city of Columbia, whose mission is to bring in out of area visitation to the Columbia area, whether it's a meeting, a convention, or just leisure travel, such as football games next season, Preston Thorne. And if you're thinking about going ahead and booking a hotel for, say, LSU, be a good time to go ahead and do that. That'll be, excuse me, September 14th when the Tigers from Baton Rouge come in. And Preston, let's talk about the schedule for a second before we allow you to get all giddy over the defensive line commitment. I think it's as good as you could ask. I'm with Todd. I think I'm with our Alabama Todd. I think all schedules last night were fairly difficult. I don't know if anyone had our sales guy Jeff Haley sent us a text pointing out the difficulty of Missouri's schedule or the lack of difficulty. And I kind of looked at it. Right now, we assume Missouri to be a good football team, or at least I do.
I don't know any reason why they wouldn't be, because we've seen what they've done this year. You only assume that they're going to continue to build up. Haven't lost any massive losses through the transfer portal. Unfortunately, your guy Drink is there still, so yeah, that's a good assumption.
Yeah, so I say that because if you're a good football team, maybe you don't think that, or if they're like Alabama or like Georgia or someone, you go, well, man, they're a good team. They should beat all those other teams. Alabama does next year they've got LSU in November, they've got Oklahoma in November, and you know what? I don't know how good Auburn's going to be, but it seems like every time those two teams hook up, it's some kind of wild and crazy game, just like this year, 4th and 31. So I'm with you. I think that everybody had a pretty tough schedule, but focusing solely on South Carolina for a second, one of the things that stood out to me is you do get Kentucky in that second game, as they'll be trying to transition into Brock Vandergriff and away from Ray Davis and other players such as that.
Yeah, I see. I'm looking at the schedule now, and I guess every schedule. I've always said we have to play whoever's in front of us. So there's no such thing as an easy or light schedule. But yeah, having Kentucky early in the season, maybe the onus on how big a game it is, it won't be as important at that time. We'll have to see how that plays out later in the year. Next, you have LSU coming into town. I was personally a little bit disappointed because I got an auntie that lives in Baton Rouge, and I was hoping for a reason to get out to Baton Rouge, but unfortunately we're going to be in Columbia, so that's cool. The Tigers coming to town, so that'll be the battle of the tailgates, and then I guess everybody's just talking about that October stretch, right? That stretch in October where it's Alabama, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M. That's going to be probably the clincher as far as how difficult the schedule actually is.
Yeah, that's look. You at some point, you knew. And really, this happened for every team. I mean, you can look around, you can look around at every schedule and point to a couple. I mean, the Florida schedule, the back half of that they were highlighting last night on the SEC network broadcast. I mean, that's brutal. Man, that's as rough as any of them. You get Ole Miss here. Are we by you ever since you gave me that Lane Kiffin stat in the middle of the season?
Yeah.
On games now, they're good. Mississippi's a good football team. Lane Kiffin is an enjoyable coach. I don't think if Lane Kiffin had the personality that he had and the willingness to troll people, I don't know if we would view Mississippi the same. He'd probably be like, this was a lucky year, 10-2. They are good. They return a lot of players, and they're using their NIL collective money pretty wisely. But you get that one at home. You get it coming off of a bye, but then you got to go to Alabama and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma is suffering substantial losses in the transfer portal. They're going to be starting a freshman quarterback. Remember, they're 1 year removed from 6-7. I sometimes wonder with a program like Oklahoma in a coaching transition to a first-time head coach, and I know he'll be in year 3 next year, if we're just basing Oklahoma solely on tradition and history and not on who they are in present day.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that's exactly what it is, because this Oklahoma team, though they had a good year this year, they choked away a couple of games. We don't know exactly who they're going to be losing their quarterback. So who is Oklahoma? We don't know. We're going to see those helmets. It'll be the first time. I'm assuming those helmets will be Walker and Williams, right? So that'll be cool to see. But other than that, are they just another SEC team? I would probably put them more in the category of we're talking about Oklahoma, but probably should be more scared of Missouri or Ole Miss than maybe even who Oklahoma actually is.
And
Not the helmets, who they actually are.
right, and that's kind of my point to that. When I see Oklahoma right now, like are they? I hate to use this because we use it with Miami, we use it with Texas, we use it with Florida State, but is Oklahoma back to being Oklahoma, which was the program that Lincoln Riley had constantly in the college football playoff? And I don't know if that's who they truly are with Brent Venables. You just mentioned it. They're losing Jeff Levy. They lose Dylan Gabriel, who now is off to Oregon. Brent Venables is losing a lot of people in the transfer portal. That's not going to be the same Oklahoma team. The trip to Norman will be a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of people. I've already gotten this. I received a text message from my father late last night, who instantly was on whatever airplane website he could get on, and was informing me the round trip tickets to Norman, Oklahoma, are $600 right now, or wherever he was. So if you want to think ahead, $600 for a plane ticket to Norman, Oklahoma.
You can fly into Norman, Oklahoma.
I'll have to go back and view his text.
Where is Norman? That's a good question.
It's in Oklahoma.
I guess. I
In the
guess.
state of Oklahoma is the answer. My answer to you.
I guess.
He just I get the text coming in late last night. Just checked airlines out of Charlotte, over $600 round trip for each.
Norman strikes me as a place that you definitely have to drive.
I'm assuming so. I think people have said. I think we talked about this earlier this year. I believe it's you fly into Oklahoma City and you drive over to Norman. I believe
that feels better. But also, when I'm looking at this is going to be midway through the SEC. Oklahoma has not played in the SEC to this point, and so we're going to try and figure out what they were actually made of in those previous years. So that game, I know people are trying to build it up as Alabama then Oklahoma, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, look, going to Alabama is going to be difficult. Nick Saban, barring something crazy, will still be there. Jalen Milroe will still be there. There will be a bunch of 4- and 5-star prospects that are still there. That's the one that I look at as a constant. Like, yeah, okay, that's going to be. And I don't know if you could get them truly. There's no great time to get Alabama, who I think honestly, as much grief as I might have given them this year and loved on Georgia, I think Alabama will probably be your preseason number one team. When you look at what they're returning and who they are and their coach. We'll see what happens with the Georgia Bulldogs next year in terms of Carson Beck and the quarterback situation.
Yeah, but the thing about Alabama, and truthfully, it doesn't matter whether you go to Alabama or they come to you. You're playing the team. No disrespect to anybody out there, Roll Tide, who's listening, but Alabama is not the most intimidating environment to play a football game. I think it's mostly because the fans are spoiled and they're used to winning. So it's not a raucous environment. So it's not that like, oh man, we got to go to Alabama and that place is a madhouse. That's not the case. They just have a bunch of really good players in the best GOAT coach. So that's what makes it difficult. So you just don't want them on your schedule at all. It doesn't matter whether they're coming to you or whether you're going to them.
803-404-6100. If you want to weigh in on that, I'll get back to the Firehouse Subs text line when we come back. Vibe check. How are you feeling about South Carolina football after yesterday's news? 1, 2, 4, 5. Preston's all 5. If we had a higher number, Preston would go with it. We're live from the Hilton Garden Inn downtown with Experience Columbia and sound and images. You're listening to the early game. I want to do anything else right now. Let me just. I can.
Bill.
Yes.
She's like, where does he want to go?
Oh. Well, I've clicked off of several of my last night, my ones in Tuscaloosa, but there was a Hilton Garden Inn in Tuscaloosa.
You wanted to go to the Alabama. Oh, okay, South Carolina at Alabama. That's right.
The 12th, October 12th. Let's say 2, Friday, Saturday. I can tell you exactly which one it was here in a second. So I looked at all of them last night, and I probably, I don't know if y'all do the same. Like if y'all are waiting here for the Oh, so that's probably well. Well, we knew that's what we learned last night. That's why. Yeah.
Good.
You travel now, more now.
How you can get out there? I know what I thought.
Right, yeah.
Coming out, I was like, man, that's a lot of people.
Oh. Morning.
Hey, I was just emailing you. I thought I had your cell, but I don't know if else.
I can give it to you. It should be in my email signature, but if not, I can give it to you. How are you? Coach
I'm
Barbary.
Bill Gunner. Nice to
Nice
meet
to
you.
see you.
Hey, doing Preston doing.
Preston, nice to see
Son
you.
of Case.
Thank y'all for having me this morning.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Adam. Good to see you. Hey, Joy. Yeah, Joy and our old friend. I did. It was actually easier for me because I didn't have to deal with my teenage daughters this morning. They're still asleep. So I was like, oh, nobody wanted. Yeah, I told my husband, I was like, are you asleep? Their alarms are set? Please, because I usually have to remind them to bring my sister. So
How old are your kids?
13 and 16.
So they don't have an Alexa in their room.
They have an Alexa, but it doesn't work. Like, I mean, it works, but they don't listen to it. Like, I mean, they ignore it.
No. So what you do is you set the alarm and you blare like I'll blare some wildly inappropriate like Kendrick Lamar or something.
I love it.
And like, but then I forget about it because I'm divorced. So my kids they're 14, 11. So I go back. So like on Saturday morning, or if I'm off, all of a sudden it'll go off, and I'm like. But that's what like I took Friday and Monday off. So last Friday I was laying in my bed. My son was with me. My daughter was at mom's house, and it was like 7 o'clock. He doesn't have to be to school till 8:15. But I turned his light on,
Right.
and I did that little talk to him. I was like, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Right.
So he's instead of me having to get out of bed and go in there. But that's
That age, I mean, they need so much sleep. They will sleep through a hurricane. I mean,
my
it's crazy.
my son is now starting to get. It took him a while. He was the early riser in the family, and he's now starting to come around as sleeping in.
I mean, that's helpful on the weekends. I mean, you want to.
Yeah. I do all kinds of weird stuff, especially because I have to be here. So like I'll have all my Alexas going off to alert. Like they have to get up and go deal with stuff, and I'm like, yeah, you.
Oh yeah. Oh, I had a
Bill.
so I don't need to be too keen.
I am. Okay. Yeah.
In Tuscaloosa for a big game.
Huh? Okay. Yeah, I'll get it. I got it. All right, traffic out there. So far, we continue to do a decent job this morning. Only one incident, Farrow Road at Hard Scrabble. So that's the only thing going on right now. You're doing a good job at 6:34. We just need you to continue to do a good job. We want to get everybody to work safely this morning. We want you to enjoy a beautiful Thursday. Christmas is just around the corner. So again, if you're out and about right now, only one incident to report, Farrow Road at Hard Scrabble Road. Currently 41 degrees here in downtown Columbia. High today, expected to get up into the mid 50s, 55 degrees, low 28 degrees. But you should have a nice Thursday afternoon, sunny. Again, 55 degrees, and just one incident to report, Farrow Road at Hard Scrabble Road.
Hey, we need to know that for Chandler or something because yeah, we can show it. So Lawrence which covers the fans from Merle's and I think those come out. So you can get in your car and drive all the way to the beach and back and just follow, switch the forms. And so Vermont Paris, they've got the basketball coach.
Up and running here. on your Thursday morning. Again, live, Preston and I live at the corner of Pickens and Gervais Street. We're in some comfy chairs here at the Hilton Garden Inn downtown. We're hanging out with Experience Columbia and with Sound and Images this morning. And part of the reason we're here, if you're in our Myrtle Beach market, if you're in our Florence market, or hey, you know what, if you got friends and relatives coming to town for one of the football games coming up in the fall, now's the time. You want to go ahead and start booking up those rooms because Preston, they're going to start filling up quickly because I do like the schedule. I like the home schedule for next year. I think that's going to be interesting. Texas A&M coming to town, Missouri coming to town. Love the LSU game. Get your mustard bottles and your batteries out for when Lane Kiffin shows up on October 5th. You got the non-conference games against Old Dominion, Akron, and Wofford.
Most importantly, you still get to go to Nashville.
We do get to go to Nashville. Yep. So you want to go ahead and get your rooms booked. Also, earlier this week, we didn't mention it here on our program, but the South Carolina baseball team releasing their non-conference portion of the schedule. So we now know all those games. So you can look at Gamecocks Online, and if you want to come into town for a baseball weekend series, obviously Founders Park, not far from where we are at the corner of Pickens and Gervais Street, the Hilton Garden Inn. So you want to go ahead and get your rooms booked for baseball season as well.
Now, Bill, you're one who wants to fall into nostalgia.
I am.
You are. As you looked at the schedule, did you not have any feelings of did you not feel remiss about not seeing the major SEC East teams on this schedule?
Last night, no. I think I got through those feelings during the season. When every time we had the preview game and we talked about Georgia, or Tennessee, or Florida, I would do the show and go home and cry a little bit. I think I worked through those feelings during the football season. But last night I didn't. Last night I did not. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Tennessee would have come here. Georgia would have been here, and South Carolina would have made a trip to Gainesville, which obviously I like all three of those games. It's going to be different. I'm excited about LSU coming here. I'm trying to think someone can help me. I don't think LSU. I think we've done this correctly. I don't think LSU has been to Columbia since 2008, I believe, when the referee William Pickett, I believe, decided to tackle Steven Garcia down around the goal line and prevent. Yeah, I think that's right. Obviously, they were supposed to come back in 2015 when there was the flood and the game got moved back to Baton Rouge here. I believe that was the last time they were expected to be in Columbia. Mississippi, I think it's the same thing with Mississippi. I don't think Mississippi has been to, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Mississippi has been to South Carolina since, I believe, 07, the birth of Sandstorm on a Thursday night, where Javon Sneed and Houston Nutt was coaching and Deuce McAllister.
Yeah.
Are you agreeing with me,
No,
or are you telling me that I'm right?
No,
I'll take either one.
I'm reminiscing on that game.
Yeah.
Just thinking about that game. That game sticks out of my mind. I don't have any other Ole Miss games that really stick out in my mind. With them coming here, of course, I think about that Brian Edwards catch when we were down there.
Yeah.
But not for them being here though.
Yeah, and I now I'm trying to ballpark. I believe South Carolina had gone to Mississippi the year before, when Chris Smelly threw a touchdown pass to Jason Barnes in the back of the end zone, and Jason Barnes got rattled pretty good, got popped pretty good. I think Akeem Auguste picked up a fumble and ran it back in that game as well.
Shout out to Jason Barnes, just recently was promoted to the wide receiver coach at University of Charlotte.
Saw that.
So congratulations to him. Chris Smelly, wherever you are, thank you for your service.
The last time I actually saw Chris Smelly years later, it was the last time I was in Tuscaloosa for the Mark Ingram game, where Mark Ingram basically got the Heisman, lined up in the Wildcat. And I was at an establishment late at night, as some would tend to do in their earlier days. And there was a guy that I knew looked very familiar. And I tapped my buddy on the shoulder. I was like, hey, man, I think Paul Walker's here in Tuscaloosa. And he looked at me, he was like, it's time for you to go back to the hotel, man. You've had too many. He said, that's Chris Smelly. I was like, it looks kind of like Paul Walker, I guess. RIP to the late Paul Walker. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in this morning. Let's read some of these because we're doing the vibe check. How do you feel? Good day on the recruiting trail yesterday. Rocket Sanders, South Carolina lands a proven SEC back, Preston Thorne. And let's start with that, just from the standpoint of running back was an issue this year. Depth. That's on the staff. It's one thing if you have 7 bodies and none of them are any good. South Carolina didn't even have enough bodies almost to get through the SEC season when you had the injury to DeCarrion Joyner, when Juju McDowell goes down with a broken collarbone. Mario Anderson, obviously late in the season, he battled and he competed, but how you saw Mario Anderson late in the season, especially that Clemson game when he suffered what we think is an injury, we'll not go into that, but you have to have bodies. You have to have, and they do need to be quality bodies, but you've got to have guys there 5, 6 deep the way the SEC plays out.
Yeah, you need to have people that can run the ball. And more importantly, I understand the concept of having depth, but having a guy is more important than that to me, because we haven't had somebody who can take the ball and make something out of nothing in a long time at the running back position. Even when Kevin Harris had a bunch of yards, he wasn't a guy, he would break some every now and then, but he wasn't somebody that would make you hold your breath. And that's sort of the type of skill that Rocket Sanders has. And so to me, just having that threat back there puts a lot of pressure on defenses that we haven't been able to do in a long time.
Oscar Attaway III, another guy that will come in from North Texas. You hope DJ Braswell takes this offseason to really improve. That was a guy that was not in for the spring last year, came in during the summer, and I think it showed as it wasn't as ready as you would have hoped he would be for a crowd. Look, I'm not trying to put anyone down, but running back is, I would assume, one of the easier positions to come in and kind of contribute as a freshman. Yeah, I know you got to pick up blocking assignments and things of that nature, Preston, but there has to be some simplicity for those of us who did play high major college football, or college football for me in that matter. But hey, here's the football, young man. Run in that direction toward that goal line.
A lot of it should be instinctual at a certain point. Once you get past, if they can just tell you, hey, you're going to this hole at this time, a lot of that is instinctual. So that's why you see running backs making improvement, especially carrying the ball. Blocking, running pass routes, that may not be something they're as familiar with, but the idea of you get the ball and you make somebody miss, that doesn't change.
How much do you think it helps integrate Rocket Sanders into this offense from the standpoint of, number one, Dow Loggins, because Lenore Sellers is physically, and I think from a talent standpoint early on, is going to be very, very, very similar to KJ Jefferson. Now, as Lenore Sellers develops, obviously Rocket Sanders won't be there. Maybe you hope that Lenore is a lot better than KJ Jefferson. But at least next year, as a redshirt freshman, making his first, what we believe will be his first true season playing college football and starting and having to handle the load, he's going to be, I think, very similar to KJ Jefferson. And the fact that Dow Loggins is familiar with what Rocket Sanders does well and doesn't do well.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if we set the bar at KJ Jefferson, I think everybody around here would be very, very excited about that performance. And so he's obviously going to develop. But with Dow Loggins being able to just have another toy that he can play with, he can move him out in the slot, he can put him back to carry the ball, and he can do a lot of things that Dow Loggins or any offensive coordinator would be excited to have. So I'm sure Dow Loggins very excited.
803-404-6100. I have earned the badge of honor. Roll Tide Todd says Bill has finally come around. Thank you for the praise, Coach Saban. Thanks you as well. It only took like 5 months. 803-404-6100. Again, live this morning from the Hilton Garden Inn downtown. We're hanging out with Experience Columbia and with Sound and Images. We'll tell you more about them as the morning rolls along. Reminder, Lamont Paris due up this morning at 8:30 as well. You're listening to the early game. Yeah. Okay.
Mic check 1, mic check 2.
All right. Sounds good.
Kelly Bar 3. But it's sometimes like I just want to make sure.
Have you come on with before? Okay.
I've been doing this for 20 years.
All right.
I've been here, been around.
Well, the last name, because I get.
No.
Okay.
There was the one that I was looking at last night because it's part of the Hilton. It's part of the Hilton. I'll get you the thing, but was the one I was looking at because it's right by the stadium. Yeah, the one I was looking at because it's right down was the Homewood Suites. I don't know if that's possible. Yeah, there was 2 of them. Let me look because once last night I realized I couldn't book it, I kind of was like, well, I'm going to bed.
5-4 at least.
Which,
Thinking you are projecting because they're a good team.
Yeah, well, that'd be my assumption. They win those 4 games.
Not much sports bringing in baseball, soccer, NCAA March Madness. That's our meetings, events, this is downtown University Boulevard,
is that?
meeting Saturday.
Oh, that'd be. You said University Boulevard. That'd be great. Like the closer, because what I was thinking with my daughter is I want to be able to like, and for tailgating, to be able to almost like stay at the hotel and make that home and be able to walk. Oh, you know what?
All planning right there.
It's already happened.
Schedule release, no templates. It's happened.
Sure, it's happened enough.
All right,
Sure, it's
my.
happened.
I didn't know that until you said it yesterday.
That's why we hate that.
So that's why you what you're talking about. And what they're wanting
Yeah, that's true.
They do what they do. We do.
I'll get it back.
Yeah.
So you want to say the 22nd and 23rd?
No, it's the 11th is the Friday.
Okay, hang on. I checked it wrong.
They're more. I don't want to unstage. I'll run them. But it's the lower levels.
Yeah, the 11th.
When they sit there and I can't do that.
Did you want to
Double. Yeah, that's gonna. Yeah, you're good.
Now, it could be different, but again,
I tell you, give me just a minute. Let me get to this top of the hour and I'll talk. Cause I'm with having my kids.
That's a good might think about it still. Think about it. Just use hours. Right. Yeah. Everybody's excited about it. Of course, he just came.
it's already sold out.
803-404-6100. That's how you can join us this morning. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird back in studio again. We are live. The Hilton Garden Inn, downtown corner of Pickens and Gervais Street, hanging out with Experience Columbia and with Sound and Images. Our guy Adam Vance, who's taking care of us many a time. I do thank you, Mr. Vance, for this time not having a meeting because we got a lot of odd looks as we were talking over you at your last meeting. I think I got shushed.
Well, I mean,
Mr. Vance had to stand up there and be like, no, it's cool. He's doing it to a radio show. It'd be very odd if he was staying quiet.
we were talking about 2 days during practice period, so I don't know.
Yeah. We got set up a little bit on that one, but we had a good time. I always appreciate Adam Vance, the Sound and Images, taking care of us. And we're going to speak with Kelly Barbay coming up. Did I say that closely? Correct? Barbary, I'm sorry. We're doing a lot of stuff. Booking hotel rooms for Alabama. I'm running a radio show. I'm not drinking coffee at the moment, but we're going to talk with Experience Columbia SC regarding the tourism marketing organization and what they are trying to do for right here in Columbia. And we'll talk more about with baseball season upon us. Obviously, Lamont Paris's basketball team should be some really good SEC basketball games coming up in the month of January and February. As the Gamecocks, by the way, I don't know if we want to ask him this. They have found their way into Joe Lunardi's bracketology. I don't know how this will play out. A lot of games to go, and we'll cut up more with Lamont Paris about his desired Christmas desserts of choice this morning.
Coach can say whatever he wants if we ask him that, but let's just say they never found their way there last year.
Right.
So Good
So
thing they're lost there, finding their way into
so neat to see. So Joe Lenardi, though, at least in his most recent bracketology, had them as a 10 seed. They would be traveling to Indianapolis to take on Northwestern in the first round. But that pretty cool thing there. But we'll talk again with Kelly Barbary coming up here in about 10 minutes regarding Experience Columbia, especially for those of you who want to travel in and book your rooms for basketball season, for baseball season, and again, as we've been discussing, for the upcoming football season now that we know the schedule. There's one other thing you wanted to mention because, again, maybe you're traveling in or maybe you're coming to see a relative and there's another high school basketball tournament taking place.
Yeah, we're right here during this time. It's the Casey Round Ball Classic. Last week we talked about the Jam, and Carmelo Anthony did make his way into.
I saw that. I wondered how Rosefield handled that. I wondered if he took him donuts.
They said, of course, Rosefield said, Carmelo just wants to be as a dad. He doesn't want to take pictures. And of course, we saw a bunch of pictures on the internet. But talking about the Casey Round Ball Classic, that's December 19th through the 22nd at Brooklyn Casey High School. This is the 5th year that they've been running this tournament. Again, we're always advocates for high school basketball. Obviously, this is more of a South Carolina, Columbia-based tournament. So if you're from the area, go check out some local basketball. AC Flora will be there. Greer will be there. North Augusta, Lower Richland, Gray, Oceanside Academy, Spring Valley, Marion, Brooklyn Casey, Odyssey, Sumter, Lancaster, Camden. All of the really good local basketball teams will be there competing, playing. Ticket prices are $12 online, $15 at the door. Very similar to the Jam. You pay your ticket, you can see as much basketball as you want. So if you're looking for something to do during this time, your kids are out of school, you want to go take them to some games, this would be a great opportunity. Again, that's the Casey Round Ball Classic, December 19th through 22nd at Brooklyn Casey High School.
And we'll talk more about that tomorrow as well. And a lot of you're right, good time. Good turnout last week at the Bash over there at Ridgeview. Yeah, very good turnout, very good job over there by those guys. And you're right, I did see the Carmelo Anthony. And as a father with an 11-year-old son who knows who Carmelo Anthony is, I kind of thought I should have gone just so Austin could have gone up and harassed him a little bit. And I was like, Rosefield said not to do that. So, but we'll certainly get more into that tomorrow as well as we roll along here. A lot to get into. We've really not had a chance to get into the single-digit defensive lineman that has made Preston go on a 5. We do have our vibe check going this morning on a Thursday. How do you feel? How do you feel about South Carolina now that you have seen a little bit of momentum this week in the transfer portal? Now that you have seen the release of the schedule for next year, Scott, we won 5 games after all last year's hype, not buying the first cent worth heading into 2024 until they line up and prove they can be productive and produce W's. Harry weighing in this morning, he said, vibe check moved from 1 to 1.5 because of the cool nickname Rocket. Bubba weighing in on our Firehouse Subs text line. He says, have we brought in any proven offensive linemen? I don't think they – look, I know I'm in the minority on this. I'm okay with the offensive line. I think the offensive line – I think it comes down to 2 things. Being healthy, and I think it comes into getting into the strength and conditioning program. I think guys are there. Josiah Thompson, Mr. Football in the state of South Carolina, is coming in. I know that's asking a lot for a true freshman to come in and not only start but be a standout. But Tree Babalati will be back for a second year. Trovon Ball, you get Marquis Anderson back. Look, those guys that they've got on that offensive line, Preston, I'm not sure. I'm not trying to call them a top half of the league offensive line. I also don't think they were as bad as they showed. I think you've got to get guys healthy. I think you've got to get in the strength and conditioning program for those guys over the next 9 months. I don't think just bringing in an offensive lineman is going to solve everything. South Carolina, by the way, I say all that only to then turn around and tell you they do have one of the top offensive linemen in the transfer portal visiting today. I'll give you more information on him coming up in the next hour.
Yeah, that's all of that's fair, but I wouldn't expect a lot of movement in the portal from offensive linemen just because they just don't get into the portal as much as other positions. And if they are in the portal, they might not be as good as we think they are. So that's something you want to check.
We'll come back on the other side. We'll talk with Miss Kelly Barbary from Experience Columbia. See, you're listening to the early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So listen, if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll give you a free quote. They'll give you a free quote, and if they do work on it, they'll take it away. They'll handle it for you. So they'll come to you whether you're at work, whether you're at your job, whether you're at home, whatever you need to do. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of that, you can do that with new windows and mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you. Also, windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say all the time, if you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at absoluteglassinc.com. That's online at absoluteglassinc.com.
All right, we gotta make a setup here. So kind of keep an ear out and let's make sure. I also gotta do I want to do a sound check. Let's make sure we're gonna move the box a little bit. Hope we don't lose anything here. All right. Ed, you still good? You got us pretty good right now. That didn't mess up the. Okay. All right. Good deal.
Preston. All right.
All right, we're good there. All right. So I've got the talking points. Oh yeah, let's. Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Flip it around, or that's fine.
Yeah. You want the other one? This way?
Yeah. And let's go and get you a mic check just so I know that I'm got your. And I got Kelly here. I'm gonna have her give you a mic check here. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you, but I can hear you out there. Yeah.
You don't hear me, do you? All right. You hear her pretty good. Do you hear?
I can hear just the commercial that's on. Yeah. I just hear the commercial. Yeah. Hear the.
Put it back on. Can you hear Ed? Ed, talk to her for a second.
Hi. I can hear you now.
All right. And her level is good. All right. Good. We're good. All right. All right. We'll have her one back. Now. Okay. All right. Oh, we got disabled vehicle. No, I know. I'm asking you. Yeah. Rolling along, 6:58 on your Thursday morning. Give you a little traffic update right now. Again, we've still got an issue, Farrell Road at Hard Scrabble Road. So keep an eye out there. We have a disabled vehicle, I-26 eastbound, right before exit 97. So again, if you're heading down I-26 eastbound, right around the 97 mile marker, exit 97, be aware there is a disabled vehicle. That's all we've got so far. You're doing a good job here as we roll along. It is currently 40 degrees here in Columbia at the 107.5 The Game studio. It is expected to get up to 55 degrees today. Should be a nice little afternoon, low of 28. So as you get out and get moving on this Thursday morning, if you're going out and doing some Christmas shopping, know that the high today will be 55. Again, right now, just one incident to report, Farrell Road at Hard Scrabble Road, and we have a disabled vehicle, I-26 eastbound at exit 97. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Rolling along, 7 a.m. on your Thursday morning. I know, at least for my kids, it is the final full day of school. I believe this is the day where you would do the shaving cream. Is that what you teachers would do? Because I used to think that actually got the desks clean where you do the shaving cream party and you spray the shaving cream on the desk and then you wipe it down. Now that at 41 years of age, I'm not sure what that did except just chew up time for teachers, Preston
We
Thorne.
gotta find all kinds of ways. I mean, we're stacking papers, we're turning things, we're doing anything that we can to get this. It's like a 4-minute offense in football. You know, we're just trying to run the clock out. That's all you're trying to do.
Tomorrow,
Don't fumble, run the clock out, everybody go home.
Tomorrow is the easy day because of the fact that it's a half day. You can throw on a Christmas movie. You can tell the parents to bring in some snacks or something, have a Christmas party. So it's a matter of survival today for all the teachers out there. Good luck to you as we march toward Christmas break and having the kids home for 2 weeks. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in this morning. We've been talking obviously a lot about the SEC schedule release, as well as talking about the transfer portal additions for the University of South Carolina. We'll continue doing that. We are live, Preston and I, from the Hilton Garden Inn downtown with Experience Columbia and Sound and Images. And joining us now from Experience Columbia, Kelly Barbary, and of course our good buddy from Sound and Images, Adam Vance, joining us as well. Good morning to both of y'all.
Good morning.
Glad to have y'all. Glad for y'all to have us here along with Hilton Garden Inn. It's been a lot of fun. The chairs are comfy. I think you don't know. There is no words I can describe for you to understand how happy we are. It is warm in here compared to some of the mornings in our studio when, yes, there's a fire. Yeah, it is beautiful in here. We're having a blast. There are mornings I try to start a mini fire in our studio because we are not allowed. I'm allowed to talk on the radio. I'm allowed to cost our company thousands upon thousands of dollars in fines. I'm not allowed to touch the thermostat.
And if I could say too, I wanted to thank Joy Bryant here. These chairs that you all mentioned earlier, the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont.
Hi.
Boom. See, that's the first question I ask kids in an interview. If they don't know, I know something's up. But anyway, you remember the scene in the movie when they're all sitting in the big chairs at the restaurant? You know, that's kind of what I feel like right now. But they're very
Definitely fancy.
Miss Joy will join us here in just a little while. I thought she was going home. When we first met her, she was like, "I'm going to go," but we've put on such a good show. She's hung around and helping me book a Hilton Garden Inn in Tuscaloosa for the Alabama game. You've got a lot of big games coming up. The start of the year. It's odd that today is the 14th, so you've got about 17 more days till the end of this year. But between basketball, baseball, football next year, plus events, Hootie and the Blowfish in August. Kelly, Experience Columbia has got a busy year ahead of you.
Absolutely. You know, sometimes people are like, well, Columbia's not a tourist destination, but we know that we have 15.8 million visitors that have come here from out of town for things like sporting events, for conferences, for conventions, and for leisure travel. We have some amazing attractions around town that people love to come visit.
We met Bert Kreischer, a favorite of ours, coming to Colonial Life Arena in April. Tell people though how you go about marketing and some of the things you do, and what makes this such an attractive town to come to.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, we are working to bring business to our local businesses, our hotels, our restaurants, our attractions. And we do that by booking meetings and conferences. So if you have a professional organization that you're a member of, and maybe you travel around all over the Southeast to go to conferences and things, think about Columbia because we have some amazing facilities here. You can come sit in these comfy chairs at the Hilton Garden Inn and sleep in their cozy beds. But our convention center is amazing, stays booked up. But in addition to that, as I mentioned, the leisure travel. That is what we noticed picking up during the pandemic is that weekend, that long weekend stay of people really taking advantage of, you know, the only national park in South Carolina, Congaree National Park, our rivers, all of the arts. We have the Columbia Museum of Art, Venture Children's Museum, so many wonderful things to come here and visit. And that's what we're out there promoting.
Yeah, Riverbank Zoo, another one. I haven't been in a while, but certainly a really good time. I see on here. Do explain why should visitors, and you did just kind of do it, and I'll give another one. Yesterday I was down in 5 Points at Home Team Barbecue. We do have a ton of great local restaurants, but why should visitors consider Columbia as a destination to travel to?
You know, it is, we have some really cool things that people may not even know. We have the Pimento Cheese Trail in Columbia.
Did you know that?
I'll be signing up.
We have 16 participating restaurants that serve pimento cheese in a very unique way. So that's everything from on a Pimento Cheeseburger Pizza over at Terra to the Root Cellar in Lexington does their pimento cheese egg rolls. You can get all kinds of neat things. So what we do essentially is kind of package and curate experiences for people so they can come and enjoy the Columbia region. And maybe mentioned this earlier, but we promote the entire region. We are Experience Columbia, but we promote Richland County, Lexington County, and the city of Columbia. So many great restaurants all throughout this region that we promote.
One of the things I know, I live on Lake Murray, and I would advise around the 4th of July weekend. It's normally the Saturday before the 4th of July is coming into town, and being able to see the fireworks over Lake Murray. I know you can go out and rent boats, pontoons, and you can experience the fireworks. I'm able to experience them, and it's an incredible event. And then as we mentioned, all the sporting events. I think Miss Joy is learning just how important it is for me to have to book a hotel and somewhere else close to the campus now, especially with my daughter getting older and taking her around. The economic impact, you mentioned it, 15.8 million people. What's the economic impact for Columbia and for Richland and Lexington when you have that kind of visitation?
$2.6 billion. I mean, that's billion with a B, and that is money that's coming from outside our region for people who are coming here. They're staying in our hotels, they're shopping in our stores, they're eating in our restaurants, they're visiting our attractions, and they are dumping money into our local economy. So this is just a really clean industry because you're bringing these visitors in, you're giving them a great experience, and then they go home and tell their friends about it.
Preston, have you experienced the fireworks on Lake Murray?
I haven't seen.
Are you a firework guy?
No, not particularly. I'm cool on the fireworks, but I do love the lake, and obviously. But even speaking about Columbia, and I would advise. I know we're talking about people coming in, but I would advise the people who are here to experience Columbia in a little bit of a greater capacity. So many cool restaurants and so many awesome things to do. We're still trying to explore all of the cool things to do in the city.
Yeah, that is such a great point. When we were doing some research to kind of figure out certain key talking points and things to market with our region, we realized that the perception of Columbia locally is actually more negative than the perception of Columbia outside of the region. So as a secondary note to our mission, we are trying to really embrace our locals and help them understand all the wonderful things to see and do right here in their own backyard. And one of the things we've done is we have an ambassador program. So we pick 4 locals a year who are just super plugged in to all the different things going on in Columbia. So we might have somebody who's a really big outdoor enthusiast, somebody who's a really big sports nut, somebody who's a really big foodie, and we let them help us tell our story on their social media, just kind of spreading the word. So that is a really important point because we need more people in Columbia being champions of Columbia. You
mentioned outdoors. Last year, we were honored to host a great event on Lake Murray, which was the Bassmasters Classic coming, which was really cool. It's for look. I don't know how exciting it was to watch it because I watched it. I got in a boat, but I'll tell you, if you're a fisherman, if you're in Florence, if you're in Myrtle Beach, if you're in Charleston, if you're in Greenville, you never fished Lake Murray, you have to. It is one of the best fishing lakes. The bass and the striper are absolutely phenomenal. I was actually watching the boats that were out there earlier this morning before I came here. You're right. What kind of economic? What have you seen from Lake Murray itself? Because there's so many things to do, places to rent, things that you can go and hang out. Just the water sports. Like I said, I live on it, so I'm personally involved in it. But it's really big for Columbia.
It's really big for Columbia. The beach out there, promoting that, the dam, walk, bridge there, Greer Island. People can go to camp and hang out on the lake. So there's just lots of different ways to enjoy the water. We always tell people you don't have to own a boat or a lake house to get out there. There are lots of opportunities for you to get out there, not just the lake, but our rivers as well. You can rent a kayak, you can rent a tube, you can go float down the river with your cooler. There are just lots of ways to get out on the water. And if you don't want to be on the water, we have our river walk system. With the miles of boardwalks and trails to walk along the river with your dog or just having a fun afternoon enjoying nature.
Let's bring it back to Columbia for a second. I'm 41. I've grown up here. I went to college here. I've watched what is developing over on Bull Street, what is developing in the Vista, the sporting events here. How have you seen? Adam, I'll start with you first. You've been around. How have you seen Columbia explode? Your office is now not far. What is it? Maybe a punt and a throw away from the front door of the football stadium, and you're seeing the development around the football stadium.
Absolutely. And so we're at 807 Bluff Road. We're 2 blocks from the stadium down there. And I tell everyone it's so fortunate to be there. We're in the Soft Docs building, and they're great partners as well. Back when I was in college here in the early 90s, the stadium was basically like no man's land down there. I mean, we had the state fair, which I love. We had the state farmers market, and that was it. People went down there, and then we all somehow jumped on a truck and made it back to whatever little rat hole we lived on campus to get back here. But now, I mean, I think there's like 20,000 cars that go by Bluff Road every day. One of the biggest investments that we made was a big S&I sign right there. And you're right, it's a destination. And just game days, I mean, there's 80,000 people in the stadium, but we got 100,000 people outside of it. And, this partnership with Experience Columbia too, Sound and Images, we bring in and people come in and have events with us from out of town. What we've been doing is kind of a lot of what Experience Columbia has been doing, but I always say DIY, destroy it yourself. So I had a misconception, and that's what I wanted to make a note here with Kelly and talking to Chandler and some of the other team there, is that, the funneling business and events to the convention center. And yes, that is true. But however, there are plenty of other events and attractions in town here. And so Sound and Images now fortunately co-manages. We have 3 venues at our facility where we're at. We have a large conference room that seats up to 40 people. We have the Carolina Haven, which is 8,300 square feet. We have the Oaks, which is 10,000 square feet. And when we're bringing people in to come have these meetings here, we can turn them over to Kelly, to Chandler, to the team over there, and help book the rooms here with Joy and the hotels, help tell them all the things about Columbia. And you're right. I had to leave Columbia after college to know that I wanted to come back. I went to Atlanta for 10 years. I was 22. It was college after college. It was the Olympics. The first 5 years were great. I remember none of it hardly. The last 5 years, I sat in traffic the entire time. And all of us that left Columbia have come back. And so Columbia is a big, I don't want to say a big, small town, but it's a big town with a small town feel, to use a cliche there. We're all 1 degree of separation. And the events that we have here are just phenomenal. And of course, we got the presidential stuff coming up. Sound and Images is running around with presidential candidates all over the place right now. And so all this is coming to town. And I just love how Experience Columbia feeds business to us, small local business owners. We feed it back to them. When our friends out there in Florence, people in Florence and Myrtle Beach can hear us, right? Terry Ford was not lying to me.
Yeah.
So like my buddy,
Dennis in Myrtle Beach has informed me already that his kids at school do not get out until next week, and now I feel really bad for his kids. Like,
so we have a lot of synergy between Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. And I love it now. You can get on the air from here through Cumulus and drive all the way to the coast and back and have coverage. And from a small business owner that works in these areas, the marketing exposure is phenomenal. And any business that we can send Myrtle Beach's way, we certainly are going to do that. Same to Florence. Heather Greenberg, there's an event planner. I work with her all the time. And then out in Myrtle Beach too, we have Monday After the Masters, these big events, and that's by Hootie and the Blowfish and all the great things that they do, which is run by Paul Graham. But that's every year, literally Monday after the Masters, and we're there at the Die Club, we're there at House of Blues. I mean, all this Columbia business is going there. So if we can just constantly reciprocate that back and forth and feed each other, it's a beautiful thing. And Cumulus Radio is really helping make that happen.
Kelly, before we let you go, anything else that you would like to just speak to that people can get in touch with you, or if they want to bring a convention here?
Absolutely. You can find pretty much everything you need on our website. It's experiencecolumbiasc.com. You can find contact information for our sales managers if you want to bring the conference here. You can link to our Experience Columbia SC Sports page if you have a sporting event or youth tournament that you want to bring here.
Battle of Bull Street.
Yeah, Battle of Bull Street coming up. Clemson Carolina rivalry on March 2nd. So that's an exciting one. Or also, if you're just like sitting around, you're like, I don't know where to go out to eat tonight. You can go on our website. We have a listing of restaurants all throughout the region, things to do, calendar of events. It's all there. ExperienceColumbiaSC.com.
Kelly Barbary with Experience Columbia SC and Adam Vance, our good buddy, hosting us again as we are live from the Hilton Garden Inn, downtown corner of Pickens and Gervais Street. Thank y'all for having us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. We'll come back. We'll get back more into the transfer portal. And I've got a stat that Preston and I will talk about on freshmen played this season. It's freshman snaps. We'll give you that. You're listening to the early game.
Yes, 100%.
We're good.
We're good.
All right. Cool. Oh, no problem. No problem at all. I hope that was perfect. Hope that was perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all for having us on. Appreciate it. If we can ever do anything else for you, please let us
We
know.
definitely will. Anything.
And
I would
yeah,
definitely-
we have a lot of stuff that we're always got content. So, filler, we got you.
No, comrade.
Yeah, let's move it back here so we don't have cords going everywhere. And I'm gonna get Joy on here towards the end of the hour.
One of the shout out to Bill Allen. There's so many things that I want to understand there. But the main thing is I want to, it's about experience.
It's starting that conversation and then, we can build on it.
This is a, yeah, that's the first episode.
Awesome.
I got,
Have a great day. Thank you.
can we get a, Joy, do better on you? No, you're. Just something
No
that-
makeup on. I need to
How about you? You want to stand out there and wait?
You look beautiful.
I thought you had makeup on.
Let me fill this down.
All right, where do we stand here?
Eyes are open.
Eyes are-
That's my heels though. I am too, darling.
Correct. RL Lamont will call. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Y'all have, I will, y'all have a nice, you too. Thank you so much.
Okay, so when I put in the real date, that hotel is sold out. There's other hotels available.
Okay. I tell you what, if you're gonna be around here, we'll get it.
I'll be
Or-
available until like 9:15.
Yeah, that'll be perfect. If not, what I'll do is I'll give you my cell phone and we'll communicate. We'll get it.
But let me give you your card back.
Yeah, that would be nice. Thank you. Because I don't have kids this weekend. And I'm gonna want that debit card. Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'll
Because the ounce for encounters rates for $75. That tells me they don't know the schedule's been announced.
tells you what.
They don't know the schedule was announced.
Okay.
Because within 34 miles, there's a hotel for $75 under the family rate.
Within how many miles?
34.
Gotcha.
Although downtown is sold out, that means they haven't opened. And they'll open at a high rate.
I don't mind paying a little bit more if necessary to be a little bit closer for us. I've been to Tuscaloosa a time or two, but with my daughter, and then plus the tailgating, like just being able to do it. She will be that weekend. She'll actually be 15. Now that I say this out loud, no. My son's 11. He'll be 12, but no, but it makes it easier because like if we're tailgating and they're bored, they can just go sit in the room. Go hang out. Okay. All right. Preston, a little hard coaching sometimes. That's all you need. And I feel like in day 3 of me doing traffic, we're getting better. It's 7:15 this morning. Right now, only 2 issues to report. Farrow Road at Hard Scrabble. That's I-77 southbound at exit 22 on Killian Road. We also have a disabled vehicle. I don't really blame that. It could have been an easy issue. Could have been a slight problem. It's cold out there. So a disabled vehicle, I-26 eastbound, right before exit 97, but only 2 issues to report so far. Farrow Road at Hard Scrabble and I-77 southbound at exit 22 on Killian Road. My coaching, my teaching, it's working. We're driving better this morning. Keep it up as we make our morning commute. 39 degrees out there right now. You're listening to the early game, 107.5 The Game. rolling along on your Thursday morning. Big thank you to Kelly Barbary with ExperienceSC.com. Experience Columbia. I think it's Experience. I got to look that back up to give you the right website there. ExperienceColumbiaSC.com. And big thank you to everybody who's helping us as we hang out here. The Hilton Garden Inn downtown. We'll catch up with a few more people later on this morning. Adam Vance doing a fantastic job with sound and images. Has always been a great partner for us. And we appreciate everybody this morning here at the Hilton Garden Inn downtown, corner of Pickens and Gervais Street. Preston, as I said yesterday, I was downtown. I was in 5 Points. Had myself a little home team barbecue. Can't go wrong with many of the local restaurants right down here in the Vista in 5 Points area over on Bull Street. 803-404-6100 this morning. How you can weigh in if you so choose to do so. So this was an interesting stat that I meant to bring up yesterday and talk a little bit about. I was sent this from Pro Football Focus, and Preston, as we go through the transfer portal and you bring in guys who have a little bit more experience, Rocket Sanders, obviously DeAndre Jules, the defensive lineman from Pittsburgh who's played 5 years. This is a tweet from Pro Football Focus. It's PFF_college. Most freshman snaps played by teams in 2023. Most freshman snaps played by teams. This was tweeted out December 12th. So this was tweeted on Tuesday at 3:07 p.m. The number one team in the country that played the most freshman snaps. That's all freshmen combined every game. The Clemson Tigers played 3,991 snaps this year by freshmen. That's a lot of snaps. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what the average number of snaps in a season is. You want to ballpark that?
I have no idea.
The University of South Carolina Gamecocks are number 2 on that list. 3,147 snaps played by freshmen. And you think about guys, like Jalen Kilgore, who was a freshman, who got in there. Desmond Zulu, who was a freshman. Travon Ball, Tree Babalade, DJ Braswell playing there at the end of the season. Nick Harbor, who saw his snaps continue to rise as well. I mean, those are just some of the guys that we're discussing about in this particular list. And Preston, when you point that number out, I'm interested what your take is, because a lot of people say, well, this was an experienced team. They had guys like Nick Gargiulo was in his first year, but he had played at Yale for several years. They looked at other guys who transferred in. Trey Knox, who, he's a lot of experience, but different experience, first year with South Carolina. How do you take away that stat that South Carolina, by the way, just for clarity, number 3 on the list, most snaps played by freshmen this season. Number 3, Florida. Number 4, Texas A&M. Number 3, Miami. Number 4, Texas A&M. Number 5, Florida. Number 6, Virginia. Number 7, Stanford. This is a scary one. Number 8, Georgia. Number 9, Alabama. And number 10, Baylor.
Yeah, so I think each team is playing freshmen for different reasons. As you listen to some of those teams, you're thinking, these guys have 5-star dudes who are ready to step on the field now and compete. Some of those other teams, similar to us, maybe we had injury issues, guys that weren't necessarily, we would have preferred that they not have taken those snaps, but they ended up taking them anyway. And I think that's going to end up working out well for us in the long run, because the earlier you get experience, the better you end up being in the end, especially for somebody, let's say, Tree Babalade. If we would have kept him hidden, and you don't get the experience of being able to watch a game as opposed to playing in the game. Next year, he's going to be leaps and bounds better than he would have been just by observing. So it may have been a little bit pain on the front end, but I think all of those snaps, Tree, Jalen, those guys are going to end up being infinitely better than they were if they would have just been watching from the side.
Yeah, just to kind of clarify on that, I mean, if you honestly think about it, if Babalade and Travon Ball each played 60 snaps, and you throw in Jalen Kilgore, who's playing roughly 60, roughly 70, that's about 180 snaps that you're just putting in. So then you times that by 10, you can figure out, okay, now how I see I'm getting to 3,000 snaps. Now factor in Nick Harbor. Judge Collier played a good bit. We saw a few other freshmen come out there. Obviously, Norris Sellers, I don't know how many total snaps he had. Tyshawn Russell played a little bit. You kind of see DJ Bradley. You see how you get to that many snaps.
Everybody's position is different. Some dudes, they have to play because of an injury issue. Some freshmen, you just can't keep them off the field because that's how good they are.
Right.
I'll always tell my Sidney Rice story. There's no way we was going to keep him off the field. Unfortunately, he got injured. And that's why I would predict some of those Georgia players, some of those Texas A&M players, some of those guys who were so good. Coaches may have preferred them not to play, but sometimes you just cannot hold somebody off the field.
Well, in signing day now, less than a week away, one of those guys that you're hoping is so good you can't keep him off the field is Dylan Stewart, the defensive end, top 20 prospect in the country. You know, you got to hope for that. Obviously, these offensive linemen, it's going to be interesting to see, especially when we talk about probably what is the majority of those snaps that I just pointed out coming from Babalade and Trovon Ball, and a couple people weighing in on the offensive line and kind of what you can expect. Anonymous Texture says you don't build an O-line through the portal. That is developing your recruit. That is by developing your recruits. O-line is huge about chemistry, not just grabbing portal guys to grab them, maybe one or two, but not more than that.
I completely agree with that statement. And for one, I don't think it works very well. Two, there's just not going to be as many of them as we think there are.
Alex weighs in. Preston hit the nail on the head. Good job. Excellent. Yeah, look at that. Look at that surprise. Not all freshman snaps are created equal. Reasons for snaps varies greatly by team. And, you know, again, to kind of go to that point, look, Babalade, Ball, and Kilgore, those were meaningful snaps. They were the first snap of the game, generally to the last snap of the game. It wasn't, oh, we're up 3 touchdowns. Let's get them in a little bit. Those were 3 guys. Nick Harbour, I think you could probably throw in there. Judge Collier is another guy that you could throw in there. I don't have in front of me the number of snaps for Grayson Pup Howard, but that's another guy who got what we would say is, I would say, live, meaningful reps when it mattered.
Yeah, and like I said, some guys you would have preferred for them maybe not to get as many reps. Some dudes you just can't keep them off the field, and so they're just going to be taking plays that other guys can't necessarily have. There's all types of reasons why freshmen play, depending on what your recruiting strategy is and where you are as far as your depth charts are concerned. They could be playing for various number of reasons. I know some of those guys at Clemson, they had the defensive lineman. He was just so good, they had to make sure that they played him. So we'll see how this shakes out. But one thing I do know, experience is always better. The earlier you can get on the field, the more experience you'll have later. It makes you better in the spring when you start practicing. It also allows you to take coaching because you can watch somebody do something, but until you get the hands-on experience of it, you won't know how to make your corrections for yourself.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. We'll get back into some of the transfer portal things. And Utah, again, I think just getting it right. The University of Utah getting it right when it comes to NIL. I'll explain that a little bit as well. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner. He's producer Ed Bird. We're live this morning. Hilton Garden Inn downtown. Experience Columbia and Sound and Images being a big part of the program. Thank you to them. You're listening to the early game. Christmas season. I love it. Christmas party. We got bowl games this weekend. You might be having a big bowl watch party at your house, and the only way to start that process is by making sure the house is clean. That's right. Call Zerorez, 803-262-4020. Speak with Zerorez today and get them out to your house to get it looking nice and clean with their patented ZR water technology, scientifically proven to keep the carpets, rugs, tile, upholstery all insanely clean and doing it better than soaps while leaving behind zero residue. Zerorez is your one-stop shop to make the house looking sparkling for that Christmas party. So again, mention me, Bill Gunner, at 1075 The Game, and you'll get a hallway clean for free. And you know what? You'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $129. Again, call today, 803-262-4020, or schedule online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Mention me, Bill Gunner. You'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $129 and a hallway clean for free. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Okay.
had it. 3 hours later. Actually,
I brought y'all gifts.
yeah, she was already lives.
Well, yeah, so y'all can help advertise. I brought you, this is a tailgate fan you put into your phone and a rally towel.
He needs that.
You would be surprised how many of these things I actually have. Like I have
Would you
more.
like one?
Yes.
Would you like a
I'll take one.
tailgate fan? These plug into your phone, you can pull.
Question, you got kids too? Your children?
I do not have a youngin.
You have a
40
yellow?
and 4,
Look off.
and then 11 and 14.
11 and 14 right now.
I have a
Yeah.
17-year-old still, and I mean, well, I hope she's at your ear right now. Because my wife has to be at work a little bit later. So, where's she work? She makes $4 a week to fill my part time.
There's a meeting.
What did you say?
So my wife makes $4 a week to fill
What
my
did she
part
do
time.
there?
Preschool.
All right.
Does she want a better job?
No. Thank you though.
Because Eastminster preschool needs
Oh, okay. We
my mom.
before kids, we called her PMP, property manager page. She ran like a high rise in Atlanta. Like she was property.
Yeah.
After kids, she's kept the job. It's always kept, either you make a lot of coin or freaking frat have somebody with them. She's always had a job and kept her hours. So it's been a blessing. I remember last week we were back in the day. That's why we passed it. Parents' house where they never came home until like 6 months. They get on the ticket for you. That's where smoking happened. That's where drinking happened. Not saying it was me. But that was the truth.
Bill.
My mother gave up her career to raise her kids.
Yes.
Then went back to work out.
That's what it is.
And my mom was an insurance.
Everybody still hanging in there, doing a good job. We have a few more incidents to report. I-77 southbound. Again, that's the one I just reported at exit 22 Killian Road. Now I got another one to report. I-77 southbound at 12th Street, the Saxagatha exit. Also, I-20 eastbound to Clemson Road, exit 80. So, okay, as you're picking up this morning, starting to have a little more bumps and bruises. Drive safe, 2 hands on the wheel, 2 eyes on the road. Listen to some quality sports talk, I guess, is what we're doing. Donuts and everything else, but drive safely. We also got a disabled vehicle, I-26 eastbound before exit 97. So again, a couple things going on this morning. I-77 southbound at exit 22 on Killian Road. I-77 southbound 12th Street exit there, Saxagatha exit. We'll keep you updated. You're listening to the early game. Whew. $7:35 as we roll along here live from the Hilton Garden Inn. Thank you to Experience Columbia and Sound and Images and Hilton Garden Inn downtown. You can come and get a place, corner of Pickens and Gervais Street. You can gear up for the baseball season, not too far away. Basketball season, speaking of, in about an hour from now, Lamont Paris will be joining us to talk about Christmas desserts and maybe Draymond Green as well. Plus, you saw some Gamecock men's basketball social media that you have questions.
I have several questions on Gamecock social media. We're old.
We're old. Okay, we'll get to that. Lamont Paris calling in about an hour for that. So again, thank you to everybody making this a fun little show this morning as we get out of the studio here, down here hanging out at the Hilton Garden Inn downtown. Let's start with this, and then we'll go to the Utah NIL Collective that I think is very interesting. Preston earlier perked up. He got very excited. I don't even know the number for DeAndre Jules, but yesterday South Carolina landed a commitment from 6'3", 310-pound red shirt. I don't know what I'm supposed to call him now. He's been at Pittsburgh for 5 seasons. He redshirted in 2019. Started playing for the Panthers in 2020. He has logged 37 tackles, 11.5 tackles for loss, and 3.5 sacks in the 37 games played. This past year, 2023, was his best statistical year. 24 tackles, 7.5 for loss, 2 sacks, also forced 1 fumble in 12 games played. So DeAndre Jules, again, 6'3", 310 pounds, a 300-pounder. That is something South Carolina needs more of. But Preston Thorne really didn't care about stats or about how long he'd been in college. You were most excited that he was a single-digit defensive lineman.
Single-digit defensive lineman, which is
Interior lineman.
Interior lineman,
Yeah.
which is very important to round out. And he picked the right number. You can't be a single-digit defensive lineman unless you're wearing, and he's 300 pounds also.
Right.
So the 6 that he's wearing contours to
Properly.
his properly. If you have a 1 or a 7, it doesn't quite work. But the 6 fills out the roundness of what I'm assuming is of his midsection. And so this is a really interesting pick. Now it does take a little bit of audacity to pick a single-digit number as a defensive lineman. I'm assuming he has some quicks on the interior because you don't think a single-digit guy is going to be sort of a plodding, plug nose run stopper. So I'm assuming I haven't seen any film, so this could totally be inaccurate. But a 6-year guy played in the ACC. Those Pitt teams are pretty good.
Pat Narduzzi's a good one to come from.
Absolutely. So that's somebody you're confident in his coaching. You're confident in sort of his pedigree that he comes from. I think this is probably you don't get a lot of O linemen or D linemen, especially interior D linemen in the portal. So being able to make this pickup to beef up the interior guys that we have, because Tonka, Boogie, TJ, those guys are sort of tweeners. They're not big beefy guys that can take on it. So adding this is obviously a solid pickup for Shane and crew.
And I don't know. I mean, you can speak to this better than I can. DeAndre Jules is listed 310 pounds. Jerome Simmons, the junior college defensive lineman South Carolina picked up earlier in the week, is listed around 335 pounds. How different is that from a Boogie Huntley, who's at about 295, maybe 290, Hemingway, who's more around 280, in terms of just clogging up the middle?
It depends on – now here's where we can get some sports here.
Go right ahead.
If we're going towards this 3-3-5 sort of a defense, you can approach it 2 ways. You can have somebody who is a quick guy who can kind of get in gaps and slash and move around. That might be your Tonkas, that might be your TJ Sanders. Or you can have what they used to call, affectionately known as the war daddies in the middle, a la Vince Wilfork, some of these Tony Saragusa, these big guys that just basically put a big refrigerator in the middle of the lineup, have them plug up 2 gaps, and you let everybody else run around. It seems as if that these 2 most recent pickups are more of that mold, where they're sort of going to be taking up space eaters and taking up space and allowing those other guys to free up. The 3-3-5 seem to have a little bit more success towards the end of the season. I'm curious to know where Clayton and crew go for this year.
If you look, and some of this is holding on to recruits that are expected to sign next week. As of now, we expect everyone that's in their class to sign. There is a level of athleticism that is being added with the linebackers and Fred Johnson and Wendell Gregory. Dylan Stewart's an athletic outside edge. Desmond Zulu is another outside athletic edge. At the end of the year, one of the things that kind of gone under the radar, I think, this week, going back to last weekend, is the return of Bam Martin Scott. That was a guy that a couple people we had talked to were a little surprised maybe he wasn't playing more. His athleticism, what he can do is a little bit different from some of the other linebackers. So when you go to more of this 3-3-5, as you just kind of alluded to, those guys that we just brought up, more of your athletic backers, your athletic ends, they're freed up to be in more one-on-one positions to win one-on-one battles. Is that true? Or
yeah, well, I mean, you're going to want to get your best 11 on the field regardless of who and what they are. So that could be playing bigger guys on the 5 techniques lined up against the tackles, and maybe your Bam Martin Scotts and your Dylan Stewarts or whoever that is playing more outside linebacker positions. That may mean walking somebody like Nick Emenwari into the box and having them play more of a box type of safety. It all depends. The great thing is that you have all of these different options to choose from, and it'll take you a while to configure what's your best lineup. But
they don't have. I'm not being fun. They don't have a while. I mean, I'm serious. They have to figure it out quick. This has to be figured out. When you look at that schedule in Kentucky in game 2 and LSU in game 3, they can't be, oh, hey, by November we'll get it right.
Yeah.
That's going to be a thing on
I
2024.
agree with that. So they have the spring, and they need to be set of what they're doing coming out of the spring, and be ready to implement that in August.
We'll talk more about that. I did want to get to this. The Crimson Collective. No, not Alabama. I'm surprised more schools aren't doing this. I really am. The Crimson Collective came to our attention 2 months ago when they gave trucks, Dodge Rams, to all of the scholarship football players. Remember that deal? They're leased trucks. They're leased trucks. If you transfer, you lose your truck. If you flunk out of school, you lose your truck. When you graduate, you have the opportunity to purchase your truck or you give it back. All right. As long as you're playing school, like Cardell Jones there, playing football and attending school for Utah, you get a truck. Yesterday, the Collective, an independent NIL organization centered around NIL opportunities for the youth, student athletes, announced another vehicle lease deal, this one for women's gymnastics and for men's and women's basketball programs. I mean, this is the equivalent of you've given company car, which I don't understand why more schools aren't doing this.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Utah Gymnastics, as I understand, is one of the best gymnastics in the programs in the country, so that makes sense. But yeah, everybody else gets a company car. Why not? Here's the next level that a university needs to take it to. I don't need a company car. What I need a parking space. If any of you went to university, if you went to college, you know parking is at a premium. I don't need the car. I need somewhere to park or to take these tickets away.
803-404-6100. Preston played football, so I'm not sure he was allowed to do this. 803-404-6100. How many of you were like me, would drive down to campus, especially if you had a class at the BA, at the business administration office, drove around twice, like there's no parking, I'm going back home. I've seen enough. No,
I don't need a car.
I got in trouble the first. I really didn't know you couldn't do this. I was running late for a class one time. It was just past the BA, and I parked on the wrong side of the road, facing I was like, oh, there's a spot over there. I don't have time to whip around, back in, do all the things, 3-point turn to get in, all those. No. I'm just gonna whip across the lane and back, and came back to a pretty pricey ticket. After that, for the remainder of the time, I was like, no parking spots, no Bill Gunner. All right.
I would say at least you came back to a ticket. I remember 2 times specifically when I came back and no car there.
Yeah.
Somebody else's car was in my spot. I was like, oh, guess I'm gonna have to figure out how that happens.
I don't think I have a story safe for radio where I can describe a slight run-in I had with one of the meter people. It involved a woman standing in front of my car from the university, yelling at me to stop, and I'm telling her I'm going to hit her if she doesn't move. Those were contentious days back then.
Did you even go to college if you didn't get told? I mean, what do we do?
Yeah, 803.
So we don't need cars. We need parking spaces. Get on that.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll catch up with Joy and Adam. Joy from the Hilton Garden Inn. Adam Vance, Sound and Images. You're listening to the early game. I don't think we have anything here. Yeah, put her on for a second. We'll talk about the Hilton Garden Inn.
I was saying that.
Oh, wait a minute. What did the girl do with her on the No. I need to put Adam and her on. Do we have where's our stuff? Well, did she take it? You see a black one?
Yeah.
Look over there, Jeff. Just see in that black one there should be one more. In that black one there should be. Yeah, she should. Yep, there it is. Okay, cool. I didn't think she would. What'd you call her? Yes, sir. Oh, okay. As long as that doesn't fall off, we're all good. There you are. I figured you didn't run off with them.
Yeah.
Well, y'all look, man. I despise the cold. I think it feels awful.
And you're next to the
If you go around the corner to the bottom space, it's free. There's a draft in there.
One second. How do you feel about it? Sir. Is it loud?
Oh, it's just me.
Okay. Did you hear? Joey, what's your last name? Right. That one I can say. And what's your title?
I'm the director of sales. Cool. The dual brand, but just say director of sales.
Okay, cool.
I'm just like, oh, move there.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear it?
Yeah. Sir. Oh, likewise. Thank you so much. I missed you at the holiday party.
Talking to me or it?
Ed. I missed y'all too. I also missed y'all at the hospitality all season down in Images. We had Twist Bartending and free catering.
I got the tailgate. Yeah, I got the tailgate twice.
Sir? Yes, please do. It was co-sponsored by Cumulus. Every home game. Vanderbilt is pouring rain. We were dying inside.
$7:48 as we roll along live from the Hilton Garden Inn, joined now by Joey Bryant, who is more than taking care of us this morning, Director of Sales and Marketing. And thank you so much for having us out here and letting us enjoy a fireplace. We're going to try to take that back with us. That I don't know how we're going to get that out of here. It's going to require some. Yeah, it's beautiful over here. Beautiful facility you have here, right here, corner of Pickens and Gervais Street. Tell us a little bit, people listening out there. There'll be obviously, again, basketball season. We'll have Lamont Paris joining us in about 45 minutes. But for people who want to come up, you're not far from the university. You're not far from Bull Street for Columbia for the Fireflies ball game. Obviously, if you wanted to come to a football game, talk a little bit about this particular venue here for booking and staying during the weekend.
Well, our hotel is a dual brand hotel. It's the only dual brand hotel in downtown Columbia or in Columbia. And we are a Hilton Garden Inn with 123 guest rooms and then a home to suite with 100 rooms. So we have a combined 223 rooms available for you to stay during the weekends.
Because Joy is so good, the parking lot was slap full this morning. I mean, good grief. I mean, right, Preston?
Yeah, it was packed. It was packed coming in. For people that are not familiar with the location, I think they've been doing. They may be thinking that how long has the construction been finished on this location?
So this location finished construction in September 2019.
Gotcha.
So it was the Clarion Townhouse prior, and it took 6 years, I think, for them to convert it. And so they opened in 2019, then COVID happened, so they were slow to start ramping up. So, go ahead.
I was going to say in the history, you mentioned the Clarion, so we had Experience Columbian here in Kelly Barbary. Bill Ellen, the president of Experience Columbia, he's still in the Clarion.
Yes.
And when I was back at the time of the party rental, way back in the day, we used to deliver here. And then Eddie Wright, the founder of Sound and Images, and Bill were together too. So there's a lot of great karma in this property. And right now it's phenomenal, enjoying everything we got.
Yes, and what's also great if you're staying like for a football game or a basketball game on the weekends, our hotel does have an indoor bar in our lobby,
Right.
and we have a restaurant, the Garden Grill, which serves breakfast in the morning and dinner at night. It's a lively place on the weekends when it is a football game.
S'mores, we had s'mores.
Yeah,
for
you can
CEOA.
do s'mores outside on our patio because we have another fireplace outside on our patio. Grills, if you're staying here, you can bring your own steak, throw it on the grill, have a cigar out there by the fireplace.
Speaking of state, you can walk down the street to Halls, couple
Yes.
blocks, and you're close to everything.
Yeah, we're very, very convenient. And like they said, directly across the street from the university, the law school is right out our door and one of our biggest clients.
So I was gonna say, one of the big parts about that is if you have a student who's going to the university and you're coming up to visit them for the weekend, maybe it's parents' weekend, or maybe just coming up for an event they have. It's a great location, as you mentioned, because it's really in a great, safe area where you can walk back and forth. I was talking about the business administration building. I'll be honest, probably the downside is, had I known roughly 20 years ago, I'd have just parked in your parking lot and walked over. Like, well, I hope they don't tow me. I hope they don't figure out that I'm not actually staying there. But it is a great location for parents that want to come up. If you're down in Myrtle Beach, you're down in Florence, you're down in Charleston, up in Greenville, and you got a student that's going here, you got a child that's a student here. Great location for parents to come into town, be able to stay and have quick access, or as you mentioned, have a drink at the bar if your child is of 21 years of age or older, and you want to get together before you go somewhere for a dinner.
Or you can free tailgate in our parking lot because we are not a downtown parking garage. We're a flat parking lot. So people have pulled up their trucks, sat on their tailgates and tailgate before they go to the game. We do not have a shuttle. However, we have talked to Southern Ballet about the possibility of running a shuttle to and from our hotel to the stadium. And with that, there is a special package for that. So we'll announce those package prices as we get closer to game time.
And that's awesome too. And Bill, you mentioned Florence or Myrtle Beach and our friends out there. So when they're coming to town here, parents, how about parents weekend and those big games? We just had the schedule come out, right? So
Yes.
can they go ahead and let's start making those reservations now?
They can.
Absolutely, because I've got a son in Georgia, and it's like $800 for a Best Western. This is like that.
Also, I would also say with the home two suites, you have space.
Yes.
You have space to lay out and get separated from everybody, and it's a really nice place where you can sort of book a family engagement.
And also the corporate stuff, if I could say, because Joy's been so nice to bring Sound and Images in. Their conference center is phenomenal, and the service is impeccable. The food is awesome, and so those people coming in from out of town, please like come here too. And I think I might do that.
That's okay. No, thank you, Adam.
Yeah, again, big thank you to having us here this morning. It's been fantastic. These chairs, again, I don't want to promote them too much because then you'll just have people like me coming in and falling asleep in the chairs, enjoying it. They'd be staying here and just come down and be waiting for the family to come down. I've done that before.
Last time's the original.
You're welcome to come broadcast here any day of the week.
We don't be surprised when we just start showing up on random days, 6 a.m. Joy, we appreciate it. Thank you again. Beautiful facility again. If you're starting to look ahead, baseball schedule is out for the University of South Carolina. We now know the dates, obviously the football schedule. As Adam and Joy were both saying, how can people get in touch with you? What's the phone number off the top of your head to contact front desk?
So the front desk at the Hilton Garden Inn is 803-227-3400. And the front desk at the home two is 803-227-3410. Again, we are one great location, two fabulous Hilton brands.
Have a staycation here too.
Actually, exactly. And as you mentioned, a little great restaurant. We're going to go enjoy some food here in just a little while. Joy, I appreciate everything you've done. Adam, always thank you for having us out. It's been a blast. We got Lamont Paris coming up in about 30 minutes. We got a few other things we got to get back into. You're listening to the early game this morning on a Thursday morning live from the Hilton Garden Inn.
Also, I could win.
I get nervous doing
Man,
stuff
you
like
did
that.
awesome.
I
And see,
Great.
I sound like a 5-year-old.
yes, you know,
Did you hear my commercial?
it was perfect, Joy.
No, I recorded a commercial at their event.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then I came out and there's like a note on my car and I was like, did I get a parking ticket? I put 2 hours on the meter. And Valerie goes, no, I think it's a blood letter. Someone hit my car and left a note on there telling me to go ahead and call them to get their insurance because he was sorry he hit me but had to go.
Oh, yeah. So I just texted all the CEOA, so they just heard you
Oh.
guys chatting. So all the calls.
Realize what's in my brain. Yeah, in my mind. Can you tell, like, I didn't know if he could hear me good.
Yeah, you were good, but y'all we'll just go in there and grab something after. Yeah, it's I always hate, like I say, I hate. I feel bad. Like we went to this place, man. That great spread. You can't like eat on air. They had that great, incredible breakfast spread, and you're kind of like staring at it. People are walking by eating, and it looks really good. But
That's the story of our lives too, because in events, man, we're there to serve, not be served, man. And they're sitting there crushing some pork tenderloin. I got a Uncrustable in the cooler in the car.
like,
I don't eat it at events ever. And yeah, that day, I don't know what that breakfast cost, man, but I had one Danish.
yeah, I was able to get a couple things at the very end that were like left over. It was, I mean, it was great. But you're like, man, I would have really liked to enjoy the hot breakfast. That's
Yes.
Oh, I forgot to say we're pet friendly.
Oh, I'll mention it.
Oh, yes. That
Brooklyn Casey High School game. We're always on this show. As long as I'm involved in it, as long as Bill's involved in it, we will always advocate high school sports in the state of South Carolina, especially opportunities to take your kids out to explore and have fun at some of these events.
Well, we will have more information on that. I believe we're efforting to get the director of the tournament on tomorrow, and we'll expect to do that as well. Again, coming up in about 30 minutes, we will catch up with Lamont Paris to talk about his basketball team. They're back in action this weekend. Charleston Southern over at Colonial Life Arena. Charleston Southern is going through a little bit of a transition right now. Barkley Bradenball stepping down. So they are kind of in a tough spot right now. There'll be a chance, I hate to say it like this, but it's the truth, a chance for South Carolina to have taken a week off from competition, having gone through a nice little stretch there with Clemson and East Carolina. Now you go through exams, maybe you kind of fall into a little bit of a rut, you lose some of your game speed, your game conditioning. South Carolina shouldn't lose that game. Right? That's not a shot at Charleston Southern. It's just South Carolina's playing better, they're shooting the ball. This is an opponent where maybe you can play your B or your C plus game and still win the ball game. So a good opponent. But we'll talk with Lamont Paris coming up here in roughly about 25 minutes this morning. The big news yesterday, the SEC releasing their 2024 schedule. We now have the dates. Preston, you just look at the month of the month of September. I think it sets up well. Old Dominion, I think I could be wrong. I think it was Greg McElroy last night who kind of said, "Oh, watch out, Old Dominion can be a little scary." Yeah, I'm sure they can. South Carolina should win that football game. They should. I mean, they should. They'll be favored in that game, and they'll be favored by at least a touchdown. After that, on the road against Kentucky. I like that right in that spot. Kentucky's going to be transitioning. They're losing Ray Davis. Obviously, Brock Vandagriff is going in to be the new starting quarterback. They did land a pretty good transfer yesterday. I think it was yesterday from Ohio State, a running back transfer. That is a team that's going to be kind of overhauled and remade. And the way things kind of went for Martin Stoops at the end of the year, they were bitter about that loss to South Carolina.
Again, because I keep telling you, both fan bases, neither one of us thinks we should lose to the other side. So when they lose to us, they don't understand how it happened. But you're right. Having Kentucky early in the season is a benefit, in my opinion, because Kentucky benefits from just wearing you down. When you play them at the end of the season, you're already beat up, and they bring the boring, slog you through the mud type of football through there. So, yeah, I like catching them early in the year.
The other part to that, South Carolina theoretically should be experienced on the lines of scrimmage. You just mentioned it. Boogie, Tonka, TJ Sanders is back. Desmond Umizula will be in his second year. Brian Thomas Jr. It should be back. JT Gear. We'll see if he kind of develops into anything this coming off season. We'll see what happens with Drew Tuazama. You get my point. There's going to be some guys who are back for their second, third, fourth year. The linebackers should be experienced, at least at this point in time, as we sit here now. 9 of 11 starters back. Marcellus Dial and Jordan Strong, 2 starters gone from that defense. But as we sit here today, check transfer portal, 805, nothing, 12-14. Everybody's good. Yeah. So you say that, and then offensively, the offensive line, again, I don't know who they're going to lose. It doesn't look like they're going to lose anybody. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Nick Gargiulo. Rashawn Lee says he's coming back. Jalen Nichols is expected back, who was out this year with an injury. You get Case and Henry finally healthy. Finally, you get these freshmen come in a game that pretty much is decided on the lines of scrimmage. It actually looks like it could favor where South Carolina goes with the more experienced team next year.
Yeah, and like I said, catch them earlier in the year. You won't have all the bumps and bruises that you usually have when you go to play Kentucky late in the season. So I do think that's a good job catching them early in the year.
And I'll be honest. Depending on, I hate this, I hate it. But depending on how you want to play Old Dominion, you can have the option to kind of hide some things with Lenora Sellers and that run game that maybe you would have had to expose if you play later. Because I'll be honest, just the initial thought, circle that Kentucky game. You lose that, we start talking, can you get bowl eligible very quickly? You win that, you should win Old Dominion, you should win Akron. And if you win Kentucky, you've got LSU at home. People will be very fired up. Maybe you get that to be a night game. But if you can win that Kentucky game, you're hoping for a 3-1 start to the month of September.
Bill, did I just hear you say that the Kentucky game might be?
I got 9 months to do all kind of overly dramatic hot takes. First
Overly dramatic.
First overly dramatic hot take right out of the gate. We're not even into
Well, okay,
2024.
Why else would the SEC have a whole night dedicated to the schedule of these? How foolish is that? Everybody's like, well, yeah, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to pay no attention to that.
I was watching.
And everybody
Who
was
said that
watching.
yesterday? We were walking. Like, was it Jake
It was
Phillips?
one of our colleagues.
Yeah, I'll call him out by name. I think it was. I was like, I'm watching. I've actually kind of spent my week around this particular 7 o'clock television. I wasn't going to watch it long. I didn't need to hear the analysis of it, but I was fully invested in. Yeah, I mean, look, we don't know what we will know, and this is kind of stupid and redundant, but we don't know what we will know in August. All we know is what we know today, and what we know today is South Carolina has to find any wide receiver. Jared Brown on paper looks like a nice wide receiver. Maybe Nick Harbor develops into this big time wide receiver. Maybe Josh Simon does come back at tight end. You get past. Maybe Rocket Sanders does turn into 2022 Rocket Sanders. And we don't know what this football team is going to look like. Who's going to be on this team? I mean, I hate to say it like this. You don't know what injuries are going to be there when we get to August 31st in the Old Dominion game. On paper, as I look at this schedule, though, 4 games were your favorite. The 3 non-conference in Vanderbilt.
Well, you're not doing a lot for my vibe check. The vibe
You see where my vibe check was.
The vibes were high before you start bringing reality into this conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like we can just push reality on to us. Let's just play in the vibes.
I
You got
just
the Rocket.
yeah. You got the Rocket. You got the Jules. You got Jules and Rocket.
What's up?
It's a pretty good rap group right there, I reckon. 803-404-6100. We'll get into this a little bit more. Might get to an NFL check. We got Lamont Paris. We got to make some time for him this morning. We will continue on. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne. He's producer Ed Bird. It's the early game. I don't have a. I got old timey meets at the very end of the show. Yeah. Is that a buffet in there? Or is that just a? Do I know? Yeah, I'm just gonna grab a plate. We're done.
Yeah, Shane's gonna have to get the vibe up. I don't think people.
That's what I was trying to talk about yesterday. Like, I don't want to see this Office parody crap. I don't want to see it right now.
Shane's gonna have to read the room.
Yeah, don't show up at a game like Club meeting. Start telling me jokes this year. He'd come to the Gamecock Club meeting, and I don't remember. I mean, Tony Annan had a really good joke last year. Tony's also, I hate to say it, Tony's also. I want to hear it. Hey, you can't show up at these Gamecock Club meetings and start cutting up this time. You're gonna have to have it's got to be a clear message of.
Third, the business life.
This is like your get out of jail free card. This is the one you get. Yeah, like you got to say we're gonna fix it, and it has to be fixed. Don't overhype something that's not gonna be fixed. Because I go back. Part of the problem in 2014 with Spurrier's team was if they'd have just been honest during the offseason and been like, we lost Clowney, we lost Quarles, they lost a ton of people. They lost all the defense backs. We're probably going to suck on defense for a while. But look at our offense. We got Mike Davis. We got, who all they had now? Was it? Yeah, it was Davis. That was the same guy. It could have been like Dylan Dawkins. They'd been like, offense have to win games. I don't think people get as pissed when you blow the lead to.
Oh, for sure.
Like when Texas A&M comes in and rips you, you're like, that's for being honest. But instead, you weren't honest. I think it was Wayne who was even like, and we all bought in because they earned that right first of all. But Wayne was like, yeah, this 3-3-5 or whatever they're doing is going to work better. We're going to get the quarterback better without Clowney than we did with him. And you're like, yeah, I've been wrong yet. I'll buy, sure. And then that's when it all falls apart. Then you get screwed. And you're like, oh, I only coached about 2 or 3 more years. And then you had enemies that appeared in the screen. Again, if they did just that summer, been like, yeah, we're replacing a lot of really good players.
I guess they felt like people were also.
I mean, you think about it back then. All right, a little traffic update for you here about the 8:15 traffic update. Got some new stuff now. We're starting to have some bumps and collisions out there. Slow that one down. We got a new one to update. I-26 eastbound at Airport Boulevard, exit 113. So if you're traveling down I-26 eastbound, if you see exit 113 ahead of you, you're going to have a little bit of a slow up right there at Airport Boulevard. Not to be outdone, one exit later, I-26 eastbound, exit 115 now with a bit of an issue. So if you're heading down I-26 eastbound this morning, expect to slow down some, start driving a little bit safer. Eastbound in a little bit of trouble. I-26 eastbound, right lane blocked after Broad River Road, the exit 97. We got I-77 southbound, exit 22 on Killian Road. I-77 southbound at 12th Street, Saxagata exit. There's a lot going on. Try and drive safer, please. You're listening to the early game. It's not happening to just us phase, Preston Thorne. And talking on that initial run of players entering the transfer portal seems nasty. I'll still contend that there's really only 2 that you're really upset about. That's Juice Wells, and I still think that, honestly, the biggest loss might be right now Mitch Jeter. Because, again, once you got to about the 35-yard line, you were in position to score at least 3 points.
You never miss a great field goal kicker to the
Yeah, and even with Mitch Jeter, the other thing is you felt like, hey, if we're down 3 at the end of the game, we got a chance to tie this thing, if not win the ball game. Now, if you're down 2 or 3 at the end of the game this coming year, they'll have to find somebody. They've got Mason Love signed. They've got other kickers, but in the realm of at least we ain't.
Oh,
Yeah, you like that? Oklahoma has lost starting quarterback Dylan Gabriel, and every starting offensive lineman now to the transfer portal.
okay.
This portal, I will ask this question, and we'll get to it at some point as this portal period comes to an end. What do you do to fix it? Because I had on our list of the rundown today to get to, and we're not going to get to today. Did the end of college football occur yesterday with a bill pass? I shouldn't say a bill, but a
Supreme Court
judgment, yes, in favor of allowing athletes to now almost essentially be able to transfer without penalty at any transfer.
Yeah. Now, well, that's one way to phrase it. I'll also say is allowing athletes to have the same rights that all others.
Well, I understand where you're going with that. I guess my question is now, and I don't really know what exactly is stopping any of this, but if you're talking about a student athlete that just wants to explore all four corners of the country, kudos to why am I blanking on the guard that played for South Carolina 2 years ago under Frank Martin? Eric started at Washington, went to Wichita State, came to South Carolina, finished up at West Virginia, I believe last year. Just visited everywhere, hung out
Filling out
everywhere.
his passport.
I forgot. All of a sudden, I blanked completely on his name. But yeah, I don't like that. Look, there has to be. I will say the difference, what you just brought up, the difference between every other student athlete and a college athlete. Not every other student athlete. Excuse me. Not every other student is being allowed to is having their college paid for them.
Well,
That's the one difference.
for
You
students
get
that are-
perks. You get perks that a lot of us regulars don't. We were limited to certain cafeterias. You got a nice training hall.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely differences in that, but any athlete any student who's getting their college provided through a scholarship, if they are bound to that place, then they have to be bound by that place. Again, this all can be taken care of through collective bargaining, and so as long as we want to dance around that conversation, we are going to fall into this piecemeal, raggedy, janky system, and yeah, the NCAA is crumbling in front of us, and that might be not the worst.
Eric Stevenson. Thank you, Jeff, for the Eric Stevenson who
Shout out to you, Eric.
toured. He, JT Daniels. Remember, JT Daniels checked out everything. JT started at Southern Cal, quarterback, came to Georgia, checked out the Deep South, went on up to West Virginia. Was he at West Virginia? This is where I was getting. Went to West Virginia for a season, checked out Appalachia, and then went on down to Texas to check out Big Texas with Rice.
He's finished with the smart people. He's like, I know where this direction is going. I'm going to finish where all the smart people are.
But with all that being said, I do wonder. The thing that makes college sports great, the thing that has always made college sports great, is you can buy a jersey of, and it never had to be. I had old '90s South Carolina Gamecock jerseys, number one, and South Carolina's had a bunch of number ones, but that number one in that era stood for Anthony Wright. There is a lot of kids out there today who have had a Gamecock number 21 jersey. That number 21 jersey didn't stand for Nick Evenmore. It does if you want to wear it to the game now, but it stood for Marcus Lattimore. I don't know if we're going to have the same connection with players at the college level where they came, they developed, they did something, and then they became hometown here. The Carry-On Joiners, and I'll throw his name in there, the Luke Doty's of the world, are now going to be far and few between, as opposed to the guys who come in are a one-year assassin. They help you win a game. They make a great play. They make a great catch. They have 2 games where they have over 100 yards receiving, a game or 2 where they have 100 yards rushing. Those players, and then they transfer, and then they leave. I am not in any way, shape, or form condoning their. If that's what you want to do, you have the right to do it, and I have no problem with it. I just, as I said with Juice Wells, number one, now the university has no. Just like Juice or like Mario or anybody else, Jordan Birch, Marshawn Lloyd, they owe nothing to this university. They owe absolutely zero to this university and to this fan base. In return, the university and the fan base owes nothing in return to those players.
Yeah, for sure. That's a trade-off that I'm not sure they understand that they're making, but I'm not even sure that's one of their concerns.
And that probably not.
That they are concerned with. I personally maybe advising them in a different direction, but that's not the way. That's not where we are. You know, I always bring this conversation up. My mother worked for her insurance company for 25 years. She went to that company, she rose through the ranks. The idea of somebody working at one job for a whole career is non-existent in today's marketplace. So if that's not existent in the marketplace, this might not be existent in this college space. I think we're trying to graft an old system onto new standards. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it is something that's new.
Well, and I'm not just trying to relate it to South Carolina. I mean, Bo Collins at Clemson is going to go be a one-year assassin at Notre Dame. Kyle McCord, I think most people would take a quarterback who went 11-1. By the way, did you see Kyle McCord is done with Nebraska? Something triggered him to realize, yeah, maybe this is not for me.
He turned on that film and was like, no thank you.
Dylan Raiola is still heavily involved in it, but I think that's what and I'm not trying to make this a South Carolina related thing, nor am I trying to make it related to Juice Wells or Mario Anderson, because there's a lot of players like a JT Daniels, and let's use him for an example. What does he call home? When you want to take your kids, when you want to take your kids back and say, "Dad played here," and you've got people that walk up to you. I've never understood. Pat DeMarco made an interesting comment a couple weeks ago, and he doesn't know he made it. I've meant to bring this up with him, and I will the next time. In the NFL, I don't know if you have home unless you're like even Brett Favre. Brett Favre's got a million members. Joe Montana with the 49ers, and then going to the Chiefs. Favre with the Packers, and the Vikings, and then the Saints. I think it was a Jet stop in there as well. The point being is, in college, that's supposed to be your home. That's supposed to be your home. If you're JT Daniels or you're somebody who's transferred 2 or 3 times, and now you've got kids, and you're in your 40s and your 50s, and you want your kids, your grandkids to see, where do you go? Where do you go back where not everybody, maybe they don't bring you on the field, but everyone's like, I remember it. Good job. Thank you for being here. I don't think you get that if you've only played 1 or 2 years.
That's a very fair assessment. I think that's a very fair assessment. I'm just not sure if that's something that they're even concerned with at this time. And to your point, that's something that when you're young, you're not thinking about. You're not thinking about growing older or thinking about getting older. Or you're concerned with this immediacy of the moment. And even Nick Saban, if we just bring this to a football perspective, Nick Saban brought this up. He was just saying that no scouts asked about how you played your freshman year. Nobody cares about that. So the idea that you can just go from one place to another, I hate to say it, but you just see this at lower levels, even at college. You see it in the high school levels. The idea of having a home. I'm not sure if that same value system applies for youngsters.
It's an old, I say an old man's take, but it's an older take because now at 41 with my kids and taking them back to, and of course I didn't play, but your daughter's going to get older. And at some point, she's going to understand football a little bit better, and you're going to be able to take her back, and you're going to say, Dad played on this field, and Dad was a part of 8-win teams, and we rallied to beat Alabama and scored, touchdown the next. And then maybe the story gets exaggerated. Dad jumped on a fumble in this stadium, and then all the old people like me go, I think Preston did recover the fumble that led to Petty to Trafford.
Yeah, yes, and that is the point because I had the experience 2 weeks ago. My 2 aunts were down here from New York, and I got a chance to take them by the stadium and show them my name was on where the captain's name or captain's hall or whatever. I got a chance to show them, their nephew's name. That was really cool experience for us to experience as a family, for them to get a chance to see that. And like you say, if you're just going from pillar to post, for lack of a better word, you're not going to have that sort of continuity and community, which is something that I definitely value and felt. And I would in a private moment, I would express to a lot of these young folks that might be something they need to look towards. But the immediacy of the moment is very hard for them to hear.
It's hard to explain. I don't expect kids to fully understand it. None of us instances does Rattler call South Carolina home. I truly think he does, and the reason being is because he came in and fully embraced this place. And this is a net negative of what I'm going to say. We got to hit the brakes so we get to Coach Paris. But I also think, look, when Spencer came here, that pressure, everything that had been on him from the time he was 15 was gone. And I think he just enjoyed it. Let's be honest. Let's be dead honest. A 13-12 quarterback overall is not something to really celebrate. He's got 1 bowl appearance. He's got some great games, and we're going to remember those. We're going to remember those. And Spencer Rattler, in terms of pure athletic football, playing a quarterback, is probably the best one we've ever seen. What separates him from Dylan Thompson? If going to that, but I think the lack of pressure. I think being able to be himself. I think being embraced by the community as he was, the way that we're years from now. I don't know if people remember that record. They'll remember Spencer Rattler beating Tennessee and Clemson and being the way he was. They won't go, well, he's barely a 500 quarterback. He only went to 1 bowl. People won't remember that. They will remember him for all he did for the university on and off the field, and how he embraced the university, how he embraced his teammates. That it's just something. We'll continue talking about it, obviously. But next up, we're going to get into some Christmas discussion. We're going to do it with the head basketball coach for the University of South Carolina. Lamont Paris joins us when we return. You're listening to The Early Game. He is calling you at 8:30. That's why I wanted to get to this break now, and he's going to be with us both segments. So, but his guy Michael should be calling you here in the next few minutes.
And I'm a fan.
Yeah, 8:55. That'll be good.
Oh.
Awesome.
Right on time.
Yeah. Would expect nothing less. That is correct, York. Yep. Clemson was number 1. South Carolina was number 2. Y'all will have to go to your radio to hear Coach. Y'all will have to go to your radio to hear Coach. I didn't see the video, but every guy. Said I watched that. That schedule release last night, like 8 o'clock. I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm going to bed. All right, looks like we're getting some stuff cleared up out there right now. Only one thing really to report to you. That is I-26 eastbound at exit 115. We are still slowed down there right now. I-26 eastbound at exit 115, and that disabled vehicle, well, it's still sitting there. 277 at Faro Road. It's stalled on the ramp. The disabled vehicle, 277 at Faro Road, stalled on the ramp. Other than that, we've got things a little bit more cleaned up. Sometimes I just got to jump on y'all a little bit, tell you to drive safer. And right now, just one incident to report. I-26 eastbound at exit 115. It's currently 39 degrees outside. High today, Expected to get up to about 55 degrees, so you should have a beautiful day out there. Coming up now, Lamont Paris joining us on the early game. Rolling along here live from Hilton Garden and Inn down here in downtown. Beautiful facility. We've had a lot of fun this morning right here at the corner of Pickens and Gervais Street. Thank you, Experience Columbia SC and Sound and Images for all they have done with us this morning. If you're looking to come into town, the Hilton Garden and Inn downtown, find your room. We have got lots and lots of great basketball coming up. Not just this weekend, but conference play getting going in just a few weeks, and South Carolina red hot to start the season. And the man behind all of that right now, I know, having a good time, at least enjoying the holiday season, Lamont Paris joining us. And Coach, you wouldn't be joining us if we wanted to talk basketball. We will, but we also like to know your Christmas hobbies, buddy. We like to get to know you. If anybody really wants to hear basketball talk, you've got press conferences, you got Carolina calls, you got all those kind of places. When you join us, we got to know Lamont Paris is who you admitted you're a chef. What is the go-to Lamont Paris Christmas dessert?
Well, we definitely endorse that, Coach. Congratulations on the hot start. We are so glad you're off to a hot start. So now we can ask you these types of questions.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Coach, there was a video yesterday on your social media, and the end of the video ended with you saying you were old. Now, let me set this up for the folks who may not have seen it. Coach Paris has on a watch, and he asked the players what time it was on the watch. And all of the players struggled with the time that was on the watch. Coach, can you explain why they were struggling with the time? Yes. Well, Coach, your mind was blown, but like a great coach, you went immediately into coach mode and started asking everybody else around the team if they could read the watch.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like now when you move players into 650 Lincoln, you have to go through every room and make sure it's a digital clock and not otherwise you'd have nobody showing up to practice on time. Being a coach in this day and age and dealing with these kids. If you thought NIL and transfer portal was difficult, now I'm just trying to get kids to read a clock. Good luck, coach. I tell you what, yeah. Let's be a little serious with you for just a second. Not so much with your team. I'm fascinated to know your take as a guy who loves basketball. I joke. I've told people this when you were in studio with us during a break. You looked at us like, are we going to discuss NBA? Or are we going to talk about the greatest player? What is your take right now on the legacy of Draymond Green when you're able to catch some of the things that's going on with him? How do you, as a coach and a guy who loves the game, observe a great player like this, but his actions?
It does seem a little bit strange. Well, coach, I know you've dealt with players who maybe play with an edge, or you may have to coach a little bit differently. Can you think of any? You don't have to say anybody specifically, but think about times in your coaching career when you've had to deal with a player who may be bringing a little bit of an extra edge. How do you deal with that as a coach?
It is unfortunate. I was just looking at it. If you look at his career statistics, Draymond Green, and what we would have considered him with this Warriors dynasty, and now how we will view him, is there a suspension enough that gets him under control, or is this just what the Warriors or any other team has to deal with him, in your opinion, moving forward? We'll take a break, come back. We will ask Coach a little bit about he's got a big week coming up next week, starting Saturday at 6 o'clock, Colonial Life Arena, Charleston Southern. 3 games in 6 days for Coach and his ball club. We will ask that. And also, I'm interested to know. Number, I got 2 questions for you. Best Christmas present ever, and if you were growing up, if you were a jersey guy, and your favorite jersey that you ever owned. I can narrow mine down real quick. I've got a whole list. I got a whole bunch of them. I can narrow it down. We'll catch up having Coach Lamont Paris on. It's Preston Thorne and Bill Gunner. We're live from the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown. You're listening to the early game. He's becoming very comfortable with us. This is why you didn't get called.
I don't know. These 2 were set up. I think they might have been right there. I think he pulled them. I think he pulled them up as when they were getting on. These Adam pulled them up from somewhere. These were well. I know when I came, you had these. It looks great.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Rock says Mickey's big hand and his little hand. That's how he works.
Okay. We gotta send. I'm gonna send you that. You know that, like the elementary school clock,
Yeah.
the yellow one. That I'm gonna send. Coach, just put this into practice to have to work on it on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you can close it down.
It doesn't come any further. Yeah.
That's all right.
Where's your hand, Brad? I didn't see you.
Right, right. We
Where'd you grow up?
some of this.
It's just about 7 minutes left with Coach Lamont Paris joining us this morning. As always, thank you to everybody here at the Hilton Garden Inn downtown for their hospitality. Thank you to Experience Columbia and Sound and Image as well. We've had a blast over here. And if you're looking for a hotel, a lot of basketball coming up for Coach, especially over the next week, really. You can come here, Hilton Garden Inn, downtown, book a room, not too far from the CLA, and get over there and root Coach Paris's team on, Coach Daly's team. And Coach, we'll start with that before we get into more Christmas discussion. Real quick, just you come off of a break, off of a week. How difficult is it for a basketball team like that to play the number of games you played in succession like they have? Then you take a break, and now you get to get right back into it 3 games essentially in 6 or 7 days, starting Saturday night against Charleston Southern.
Coach, you mentioned the idea of scouting reports, and again, this is personal. I'm coming from a football perspective, so I understand how that looks from a football perspective. But, and I'm not looking for trade secrets here, but what do scouting reports look like when you all comprise them for your opponents? Yes.
Again, get out there. We'll have a doubleheader with the women on Saturday night, 6 o'clock tip time against Charleston Southern. That'll be followed up on Tuesday. Winthrop will be in town 7 o'clock, and next Friday, a good way to start your Christmas weekend against Elon, 6 p.m. All 3 at Colonial Life Arena. And speaking of Christmas weekend, Coach, I got to know: I feel like there's two kinds of people out there. You either start Christmas shopping in August and you accumulate gifts throughout the fall and you're ready to go and you feel great, or you're more like me and next Friday you're like, I gotta have gifts on Sunday and Monday for the
Came around again.
yeah. Where do you fall in that spectrum?
Coach, you should have it built into your life. Everybody
Yeah.
knows what part of the year this is for you. They understand your profession. They should give you a little bit more grace in this situation.
Best Christmas present you ever received? Coach, we always appreciate it. Know you got a busy schedule, as we mentioned. Saturday night, get on out there, Colonial Life Arena, 6 o'clock tip time. Go support that team. We're not going to jinx you with any of the things we talked about earlier today. We just appreciate you taking time, and we definitely will get you back into the studio, talk some NBA here in the next few months. We'll see you then. Y'all have a great rest of the day. Thank you to Coach Lamont Paris and everybody here at the Hilton Garden downtown. We will see you tomorrow morning. It's been the early game. A lot of fun this morning. Again, thank you to everybody for having us. Thank you to Coach Lamont Paris for joining us. They're always fun talking with him. And as always, thank you to our sponsors, such as Old Timey Meat Market. I tell you what, the weekend is almost upon us. I'm going to relax a little bit. I'm going to take in that basketball game on Saturday night at 6 o'clock. And I'm going to do it all while enjoying some great food. And that starts at Old Timey Meat Market. 3 locations to choose from: South Congaree, Irmo, or the Lexington store where I'm always at. Whether it's a fantastic steak, whether it might be some oysters this weekend. Preston Thorne might be going down the oyster path this weekend to enjoy it. You can also get exotic meat such as alligator tail. They've got incredible chicken on a skewer, Italian chicken skewers. Maybe you want some breakfast, thick cut bacon, some Southern style biscuits, whatever it is. Old Timey Meat Market is going to make your weekend spectacular. So go visit Old Timey Meat Market, South Congaree, Irmo, or Lexington, and tell them you heard it here on 107.5 The Game with Bill Gunner. You too, buddy. Thank you for everything. Later. All right.
It should be strong.
That's good, guys.
Yeah.
I'd like to do a commercial too.
You know what? Honestly, we ought to ask them, just in case we run long on anything like that, to have a commercial in that spot every time. Because just you can spend 10, 15 seconds closing out whatever I didn't get to right there, and then just transition into almost a 40, 45-second commercial.
I never feel like I get like a couple minutes to talk with y'all. Try to figure out what
Y'all have a great day. Yeah, we'll get everything fixed up tomorrow. I wasn't in studio to get that cord in, so y'all have a great rest of the day and take care.